and quickly completed the packaging. Let's go! Yi Xian put Yi Jing's small school bag on his back and stretched out his big hand. The little girl smiled sweetly, held Yi Xian's hand, and suddenly thought of Zhou Xiaodan and the others. Dad, but Xiaodan and the others. Yi Xian held Yi Jing's little hand and laughed. Don't worry, Jingjing. Dad has already asked someone to pick up your classmates. At this time, at the gate of a community in Jiling, a couple was waiting at the gate with their daughter. Their daughter was Yi Jing's classmate, and was waiting for someone arranged by Yi Xian to pick her up to the concert. The couple stared at each other with eyes wide open, still with a lingering sense of surprise in their hearts. At this moment, they still couldn't quite believe that Yi Jing's father was really too generous. He invited their daughter's entire class to watch Ziqi's concert right after the exam. Girl, remember to take good care of yourself when you go there, be a good boy, and don't cause trouble for others. The girl's mother said as she was packing her clothes and school bag. Yeah. Don't worry, Mommy. The girl nodded heavily, her eyes filled with excitement. The girl's father was looking around at the moment, smacking his lips in surprise. It seemed like they said there was a car coming to pick us up, but I didn't see any private cars. As he spoke, the girl's father looked at the mother and daughter, paused, and continued. Why don't we just send the girl over ourselves and not trouble others? Hearing the girl's father's suggestion, the girl's mother also nodded. I think it's okay. They have invited so many classmates to watch the performance. It's not good to trouble others all the time. The girl's father nodded and was about to drive his car over when he saw a Rolls-Royce Phantom parked nearby. Seeing such a car, the girl's father couldn't help but stop and look at it carefully. Wow, this is indeed a world-class luxury car. It looks simply amazing. This design. This appearance. This domineering. The girl's father kept praising the Rolls-Royce parked nearby, while the girl's mother wiped her sweat and quickly interrupted him. What are you doing? You look like you have never seen the world. Forehead. The girl's father nodded helplessly and scratched his head in embarrassment. Am I just curious? My dear wife, you know that I just like to study cars. All right. Stop talking nonsense and go get the car out. Okay. The man made an okay gesture and was about to turn around to drive out when the driver of the Rolls-Royce Phantom saw them and drove towards them. Excuse me, is this little girl Zhao Lin? I'm here to pick her up. At this time, the driver rolled down the car window and looked at the little girl brought by the couple with a smile. Uncle, I am Zhao Lin. Zhao Lin smiled and nodded, then she saw that there were several children sitting in the back seat of the car, all of them were her classmates. When the couple saw the scene, they shuddered and almost fell down. The car in front of you is a Rolls-Royce Phantom. The most luxurious car in the world. But Yi Jing's father actually arranged a luxury car of this level to pick them up, which really made the two of them breathless. Ah, girl, you must be obedient when you get there. After a while, the girl's mother finally reacted and smiled as she sent the girl to the car. The girl's father was completely stunned at this moment, not daring to breathe. He really couldn't understand what kind of person could be so generous. Goodbye, Mom and Dad. Zhao Lin got on the bus with laughter and sat with several classmates. The couple watched the Rolls-Royce gradually go away, standing there blankly, letting the whistling wind blow on their faces. After a while, the girl's father suddenly took a breath, with deep shock in his eyes. What kind of deity is this? Chapter 23. This is a bomb. The girl's father was sweating profusely at this moment. He couldn't understand why he could use such a luxurious car just to pick up his child. How rich was this person? Ah, the person who can get so many tickets in such a short time and invite the whole class to watch the concert is definitely not an ordinary person. The girl's mother's voice was slightly trembling at this moment. This matter was really beyond their imagination. Although it can be seen from this incident that Yi Xian is not simple, the two of them never expected that they had underestimated others 1,000 times. At this time, outside the concert venue, although there was still some time before the concert started, there were already crowds of people. People gathered around the ticket office, some had bought tickets, some hadn't, and there were also many scalpers selling tickets at high prices. Those who bought tickets are now queuing up to enter the venue, their faces filled with joy. Those who didn't buy tickets gathered together dejectedly. Alas, I made a reservation early in the morning, but I couldn't get a ticket at all. No way, my luck is so bad this time. It's too difficult. I don't know how people buy it. Why can't we buy scalper tickets? Just as everyone was lamenting, a discordant voice suddenly came from the crowd. Ticket scalpers, are you kidding me? You're selling for dozens of times the price. Will you buy it? It's because of these guys that we can't get tickets. Come on, if you have money, go buy it. At this moment, a scene outside the venue attracted the attention of many people. I saw a group of children standing in an open space outside the venue, and soon they lined up in 2 rows. In front were Yi Jing and Zhou Xiaodan, directing order. Students, don't run around. Once we're standing still, we'll be ready to go in. The children who were originally talking excitedly soon quieted down when they heard Yi Jing's voice, and stood still without moving around. Xiaodan, go count, are all the students here? After hearing what Yi Jing said, Zhou Xiaodan nodded slightly, counted from the back to the front, and then raised her little hand. Everyone is here. Very good. Yi Jing chuckled, then took out the snacks that Yi Xian had prepared just now, and together with Zhou Xiaodan, began to distribute the snacks to the children. Everyone has 1 pack, so don't worry. Soon, each of the children had a bag of exquisitely packaged snacks in their hands. The bag contained a variety of foods, including popcorn and cookies. Thank you, Monitor, thank you, Deputy Monitor. The children held the snacks in their hands, looked at Yi Jing and Zhou Xiaodan excitedly, and thanked them in unison. Okay, we can go in now. Now that all the necessary preparations were done, the 2 girls led the children to the ticket gate. Everyone, follow closely and don't get lost. This scene made many people around laugh and smiles appeared on their faces unconsciously. These children are like little adults, and they are really obedient. Yeah, you still have to queue before entering. It's so cute. Ah, these kids are so well behaved. Ah, compared to those naughty kids in my neighborhood, they are so cute. Most of the crowd's attention was attracted by these children at this time. They were talking about them and praising these obedient children. At this time, Yi Xian was quietly following at the back, watching the children, worried that they would fall behind and also to prevent any unexpected accidents. Soon, the children arrived at the ticket gate. The ticket inspectors looked at the children with loving smiles on their faces. After entering the concert venue, the children were led by Yi Jing and Zhou Xiaodan directly to the center of the concert venue, which is the best seat in the entire concert venue. After they were all seated, the other people around them also sat down one after another. They soon noticed the seats here and were all stunned. Aren't these the kids who were outside just now? These are all in the inner court. I'm stunned. How did these kids do it? Could it be a little actor from the special show at the concert? No, the little actors should be backstage, and their clothes aren't uniform. When people looked at these children neatly occupying a large area of seats in the center of the concert venue, they suddenly didn't know what to say to express the shock in their hearts. Tickets for Ziqi's concert are already hard to come by, and tickets for the center of the backstage are even harder to buy, and they're expensive. If the people here were adults, even high school students, they wouldn't be too surprised. But this group of people are just some real children. What on earth did they do to be able to do such a thing? It seems that these little guys come from unusual families. It seems like they are from the same class? I just heard someone say there is a monitor and a vice monitor. In the same class. I don't understand. Not only were other people amazed, but these children were also amazed at everything around them. Looking at the lights around them and the big stage in front of them, there were sparkling lights in the children's eyes. Because the child was attracted by other things, he hadn't even touched the snack bag in his hand. As more and more people came to the scene, the concert began soon. The lights and music suddenly turned on together, and a pleasant voice sounded from the speaker nearby. Friends at the scene. How are you? Ziqi, wearing an elegant and luxurious robe and holding a microphone in her hand, walked out from the backstage with ease. For a moment, there was loud cheers and thunderous applause at the scene. Ziqi. Ziqi. Sister Ziqi, we love you. Ah. Ziqi's outfit today was so ethereal that she soon became the only scenery in the crowd of tens of thousands of people. Everyone, the first song is a song that everyone is familiar with. I hope everyone can join me in lighting up this night. As Ziqi finished her opening remarks, a familiar song sounded from the speakers. The fans at the scene were instantly ignited at this moment, waving their glow sticks and cheering signs, like a vast ocean. As Ziqi's heavenly voice came out of the microphone, the people at the scene also started a chorus of thousands of people. There was excitement shining in everyone's eyes, and the atmosphere was reached to its peak. The children were also excited at this time, and many children who were familiar with the song began to hum along. Yi Jing and Zhou Xiaodan hummed as they opened the snack bags in their hands and started eating popcorn. The moment the popcorn bag was torn open, a fragrance spread all around. The aroma of popcorn mixed with a slightly burnt flavor of cream immediately invaded everyone's mind. The children around couldn't help but look at the snack bags in their hands, opened them, and slowly tasted them. When all the kids in this class opened their snacks, the entire concert venue was filled with a soul-captivating aroma. Many people nearby smelled the smell and swallowed their saliva. They were all stunned and disgusted continuously. What are these kids eating? It smells so good. Oh my god, I'm not hungry, why does my stomach keep growling when I smell this smell? Oh, the popcorn and Coke in my hand don't smell good anymore. However, these children did not pay attention to the voices of people around them. They just listened to Ziqi's singing and enjoyed the delicious snacks. However, I don't know if it was because the snacks were too fragrant or because they were too close to the stage, but even Ziqi could smell the tempting aroma. This smells so good. While Ziqi was singing with the microphone, she looked at the snacks in the hands of the children in front of her and almost couldn't help swallowing. She herself is a little glutton. With her many years of experience in food, she can tell at a glance that the snacks in these children's hands are so sweet that it's tempting to commit suicide. She didn't know why, but when she saw these kids eating with such relish, she actually felt a little envious. To her, these are simply sweet and delicious bombs. No, I must stay steady. Chapter 24. Wait, girl, what did you say? While taking a breath, Ziqi swallowed hard. This was her own concert tour, she had to hold on. At this time, the chorus of tens of thousands of people had ended. After a few soothing songs, a rapid drum beat suddenly sounded. Ah! This is Sister Ziqi's title song. When the fans heard this prelude, the memory engraved in their DNA was indelible, and they immediately screamed and cheered again. I love this song the most. Yeah. Me too. This is my cell phone ringtone. This song is extremely difficult. I think only a high-pitched queen like Sister Ziqi can handle it. The audience became more and more excited. Ziqi's song reached its climax. A high note that broke through the sky and sounded like the sound of nature resounded throughout the venue. After a while, the concert experienced wave after wave of climaxes, and finally ushered in the final curtain call. As people slowly walked out of the venue, a group of children also walked out. But as soon as they came out, many people came over, looked at the children with smiles on their faces, and asked with a smile, "Kids, where did you buy your snacks?" This is from the monitor. The children's faces were filled with satisfied smiles, and they all looked at Yi Jing standing beside them. Following the children's gaze, people also looked over. Little girl, how did you get here? There was anticipation in people's eyes. After all, this snack was extremely attractive to them. My dad made this for me. Yi Jing pouted and said with a smile. All right. When everyone heard this, they all smiled helplessly. If this was the case, there was nothing that could be done. Dad. At this time, Yi Xian also came to the children, and Yi Jing threw herself directly into Yi Xian's arms. Children? Are you happy today? Yi Xian rubbed Yi Jing's little head and asked the children around him. Happy. Thank you, Uncle, for today. We are so happy. And the snacks made by Uncle are so delicious. Yi Xian nodded and smiled slightly. You're welcome, just be happy. As he spoke, Yi Xian looked at the time and then said, It's almost time now, let's go have a meal together. Okay, the children agreed in unison with a smile. Then, Yi Xian took them to dinner. When they arrived at the nearby Wanda Plaza, he parked the Rolls-Royce Phantom Extended Edition. Children, follow me. As soon as they got off the bus, the kids stood in 2 rows and followed Yi Xian to a good restaurant nearby. At the same time, backstage at the concert, Ziqi was still removing her makeup when her agent hurried over. Ziqi, how are you today? The agent looked at Ziqi, who was removing her makeup in front of the dressing mirror, and asked with concern. Fine. Ziqi nodded slightly, then asked with a smile. By the way, why are there so many kids in the middle of the inner field today? When the agent heard this, he clapped his hands and said, Yes, I came here just for this matter. Those tickets are wanted by the chairman of Hawaii Entertainment. I have to trouble you again. Please change your clothes and bring some more gifts. At this point, the agent's eyes became a little more serious, and it was obvious that this matter was no small matter. I see. Ziqi nodded. She knew about such things. Over at Wanda Plaza, the children gathered in a large private room of a restaurant. They were in a very happy mood and were discussing what had just happened. I'm so happy today. I never thought that we would be able to see Sister Ziki's concert. Well, I still have to thank Uncle Yi for this. Uncle Yi is really amazing, the snacks he makes are really delicious. Boom boom boom. But as we were chatting, there was a knock on the door. The food is served really quickly. Yi Jing was closest to the door. After hearing the voice, she walked towards the door while talking. But as soon as he opened the door, Yi Jing was stunned. The person at the door is not a waiter delivering food, but a graceful figure. The pretty figure bent down and smiled at Yi Jing. Her angelic face made the little girl Yi Jing open her mouth wide. She has a beautiful smile, delicate features, fair skin, and a face without any blemishes. She has an indescribable beauty and a hint of playful cuteness. Ziqi looked at Yi Jing's dazed look and found her endearing, so she smiled and pinched her little face, then asked gently, "Little sister, is Mr. Yi in this room?" Yi Jing stared blankly at Sister Ziqi in front of her. For a moment she felt like she was in a dream and spoke timidly. "Ziqi sister, are you looking for my dad?" "Dad?" Now it was Ziqi's turn to be stunned. Looking at the cute little girl in front of her, she couldn't help but pinch her little face. "Is this Mr. Ye's daughter? She's so cute." Ziqi looked at Yi Jing in front of her, slightly surprised, thinking secretly in her heart, "Sister Ziqi, is it really you? Come in quickly." Yi Jing reacted at this time and was so excited that he didn't know what to do. He quickly made way and took Ziqi into the private room. At this time, the children who were still chatting heard the sound and looked towards the door. But when they saw the person coming, the air seemed to freeze in an instant, and the box that was bustling just now suddenly became silent. OMG! Someone screamed at this moment, and then the whole box exploded. This is Sister Ziqi. It's real. It's not a dream. Why is Sister Ziqi here? The children's faces were all filled with smiles. When they looked at the real Ziqi in front of them, they were so shocked that they couldn't close their mouths. The idol who was singing on the stage just now was now standing in front of everyone. How could they not be surprised? In an instant, these children surrounded Ziqi almost at the same time. "Sister Ziqi, we love you so much." Yi Shen looked at the situation here, then looked at Ziqi and said with a smile, "They all like you." Ziqi smiled and gently stroked the children in her arms. "I can see that." Looking at the eager eyes of the little girls next to her, Ziqi bent down and said with a smile, "Let's take a photo together." "Okay. Use my phone." When Yi Jing heard that they were going to take a photo, she took out her cell phone. Ziqi took a look at it and thought that this little girl's cell phone was really good. Ziqi took Yi Jing's mobile phone and squatted next to the little girls, taking several photos of them together. Yi Xian walked over, looked at everyone happily, and said to Ziqi, "Give me your phone, I'll take a picture of all of you." "Okay, thank you Mr. Yi." Ziqi nodded and handed the phone to Yi Xian. "Children, come here and stand still." As she spoke, Ziqi held two girls, Yi Jing and Zhou Xiaodan, one on each side. The other children stood beside them, posing in all kinds of weird postures. But the only thing in common was that they all had genuine smiles on their faces. 1, 2, 3. Eggplant. Then, the flash went off, the shutter sounded, and a picture full of children surrounding Ziqi was frozen in the photo. After taking the photos, the kids were still reluctant to leave and pulled Ziqi to get autographs for them. Ziqi was also very enthusiastic towards these children. Looking at their small and cute figures, she felt happy in her heart. She had not expected to be so loved by these children. "Sister Ziqi, I want to take a photo with you alone. I want Sister Ziqi's autograph." "Sister Ziqi, can you teach me to sing?" The children also gathered around Ziqi, with excitement unique to children in their eyes. "Okay, kids, Sister is here today and has some small gifts for you." When Ziqi's cell phone rang, she saw the message that her helper had brought gifts, so she smiled and waved to all the children. "Gift?" When the children heard that their favorite Sister Ziqi had gifts for them, they were so excited that it was difficult to describe. "Sister Ziqi is so kind. We love you. Sister Ziqi is really an angel. Ah! I'm so happy today." The smiles on these children's faces were filled with real happiness, and Ziqi also smiled and stroked the little heads of the girls in front of her. "Hey! Here it comes. The assistant, along with several staff members, brought gifts to the children. These exquisite gift boxes contained autographed photos of Ziki, as well as dolls and co-branded headphones. These things are priceless in Zichi's fan circle, but this time, Zichi prepared a gift box to give to a child. The children all opened their eyes wide when looking at the gift boxes with Ziki's beautiful photos printed on them, and suddenly burst into cheers. Come on, children, take one each, everyone has a share. Zichi picked up the 2 gift boxes with a smile, shook them gently next to her ears, and then handed them to the 2 children closest to her with a smile. The assistants were helping to distribute the gifts, and soon every child had a small and exquisite gift box in their hands. Are you happy today? Yi Xian watched this heartwarming scene from the side and smiled gently. Happy! The children shouted in unison, and at this moment, the waiter outside also brought the dishes. You guys want to eat? Then I'll leave first. Zichi saw that the food was about to be served and waved to everyone. Sister Ziki, don't leave, let's have a meal together. Yi Jing stared with her eyes wide open, her little hands reluctantly pulling at Zichi's skirt. The children like you very much. Want to have dinner together? Yi Xian also stood up and invited Ziki to stay and have dinner with the children. All right. Ziki grinned and looked at the children's expectant eyes. She knew she couldn't refuse these children. Great. Sister Ziki, I have some snacks here, please have some. Zhou Xiaodan took out a few bags of snacks that he hadn't finished eating yet and trotted over to Ziki. Thank you, little sister. Ziki did not refuse and gently took the snacks handed over by Zhou Xiaodan. This was what she saw these children eating when she was singing on the stage just now. When she thought about it now, she also swallowed her saliva. I can't resist that sweet smell at all, it's simply the most delicious thing in the world. Schwa! Zichi immediately tore open a pack of biscuits and gently put them into her mouth. She immediately felt as if she was electrocuted. The taste of the biscuits really surprised her. She simply couldn't believe that there were such sweet biscuits in the world. The rich egg yolk flavor and crispy texture immediately conquered this adult greedy cat. It's so delicious. Where did you buy it? Zichi looked at Zhou Xiaodan and Yi Jing and asked, these snacks are even more delicious than the expensive snacks she customized in high-end pastry shops. Hey, Sister Ziki, this was made by my dad. Yi Jing smiled silly and looked at Yi Xian who was drinking tea beside her. Your father. Mr. Yi. Zichi was surprised again and immediately covered her mouth. Even if she had a wild imagination, she never thought that such a delicious snack was made by Mr. Yi himself. Then, Zichi sat on both sides of the children, chatting and laughing with them while eating the leftover snacks. The scene was so happy. As the first few cold dishes were served one after another, soon the large table in the box in front of them was filled with a variety of dishes. There were all kinds of dishes. Just looking at the colors and smelling the aroma made people salivate. But Yi Jing and Zhou Xiaodan were not very surprised. After all, compared to the food cooked by Yi Xian, these things were not that attractive to them. Okay. Let's eat. Seeing that more and more dishes were served, Yi Xian smiled and asked the children to eat. The child obediently returned to his seat from Ziki's side. Looking at the delicious dishes in front of them, the children hadn't even thought about tasting them themselves, when several of them frantically put food into Ziki's bowl. Sister Ziki must be tired after singing for so long. You should eat more. Yes, Sister Ziki, these dishes smell so delicious. What kind of food does Sister Ziki like to eat? While the children were picking up food for Ziki, their mouths were still filled with questions. Ziki looked at the children's innocent smiling faces and happily answered their questions while eating. Soon, the meal came to an end amidst laughter and joy. After dinner, Zichi sent Yi Xian and the others out. As soon as she reached the door, she saw this surprising scene at the door. Even Zichi, who had seen a lot of things and even stepped onto the international stage, gasped. This is actually a convoy. Looking at the convoy of Rolls-Royce Phantoms in front of her, Zichi couldn't help but feel shocked. Goodbye, Sister Ziki. At this moment, the children got into the car one after another, smiled and waved goodbye to Ziki. Goodbye, kids. Zichi finally reacted, her face filled with smiles, and she waved goodbye to each of the children. You must study hard, and if there is a chance in the future, Sister Gi will invite you to come to the concert again, okay? Good. The children suddenly became excited and waved to Ziki enthusiastically. Thank you. We are leaving now. Yi Xian stood aside and said goodbye to Ziki with a smile. Okay, goodbye, Mr. Yi. Ziqi smiled sweetly, then Yi Xian nodded, took Zhou Xiaodan and Yi Jing, the two girls, and got into one of the Rolls Royces. Yi Xian prepared to send Xiaodan home. Watching the convoy disappear into the city lights, Ziqi suddenly felt an indescribable shock in her heart. As expected of Mr. Yi. After a while, Ziqi came to her senses and couldn't help but exclaimed, and walked towards a luxury car nearby. Now the team's mission is to send these children home. Yi Xian took Yi Jing and drove directly towards the Yulongtian Pavilion Villa area. One of the little girls was sent to the gate of the community by a Rolls Royce. Seeing the little girl skipping into the community with a small school bag on her back and a small gift box in her arms, the driver wearing sunglasses smiled and drove forward. Mom and Dad. I'm back. The little girl walked into the house and called out in a baby voice. Xiao Mei is back. When the couple heard the voice, they immediately walked towards the door and saw the girl holding a small gift box with a smile on her face. Xiao Mei, are you happy today? Xiao Mei's father picked her up with a doting smile in his eyes. I'm so happy. Sister Ziki is having dinner with us today. This is a gift from Sister Ziki, everyone gets a share. As she spoke, Xiao Mei hugged the gift box tightly in her hands, and an expression of love was revealed unconsciously. That's good. Xiao Mei's father was smiling happily, but Xiao Mei's mother, who was standing by, noticed something was wrong. Wait. Girl, you said Sister Ziki was having dinner with you, and these gifts were given to you by her. Chapter 25 Second Sister, Fifth Sister. Xiao Mei's father finally reacted and, like her mother, looked at Xiao Mei in confusion. Yes. We took a photo with Sister Ziki today. There is also a signature from Sister Ziki in my school bag. It looks so beautiful. The couple looked at each other with disbelief in their eyes. Just when they were about to ask for more details, their cell phones suddenly rang with a notification. At this time, in the parents group, Yi Xian also posted all the photos taken tonight. When the parents looked at these photos and listened to their children's descriptions, they were suddenly shocked. These photos were taken both inside the concert venue and inside the hotel boxes. At the concert, the seats where the children sat were the best seats in the entire venue, the most central location in the venue. What is even more outrageous is that these hard-to-get seats were actually occupied by all the kids in this class. The remaining photos taken in the hotel box made the parents gasp. A big star like Ziqi actually did as the kids said. She not only came to give them gifts and take photos with them, but also had a meal with them. When the little girl's parents saw this scene, their hands holding the mobile phones were shaking slightly. Who on earth is Yi Jing's father? His power is too great. The little girl's mother was stunned for a long time before she let out a cry of surprise. At this time, Zhou Shang was also shocked when he heard Zhou Xiaodan, who had just arrived home, talking about what happened today. Looking at these photos, Zhou Shang couldn't help but secretly think that Mr. Yi was really so powerful. Not to mention being able to get these seats, just being able to have a star like Ziqi accompany the children for dinner is something that not everyone can do. By the way, Xiaodan, how did you do on the exam? At this time, Zhou Shang remembered the exam that had just ended and asked Xiaodan. Well enough. Xiaodan smiled silly and gave a thumbs up, looking very confident. Yeah, my girl is awesome. Zhou Shang smiled, picked up Xiaodan and kissed her, then asked again. By the way, girl, the parents' meeting is scheduled for the afternoon after tomorrow, right? Yes. At the same time, Yi Xian also took Yi Jing back to Villa number 1. As soon as they arrived home, the little girl told Yi Xian about the parent-teacher meeting. Dad, will you go to the parent-teacher conference for me this time? The little girl's eyes were full of anticipation as she looked at Yi Xian deeply. Don't worry, Jingjing, Dad will definitely go. Yi Xian rubbed the little girl's face lovingly and nodded heavily. The next morning, Yi Jing got up early and changed her clothes. Today was the day for the school cleaning. Dad, do you have any rags at home? We need them for the spring cleaning today. Some. Yi Xian quickly took out a brand new rag and handed it to Yi Jing. Jingjing, do you want Daddy to go with you? When Yi Jing heard that Yi Xian wanted to go with her, she shook her head. It's okay, Dad. We can do this. Great. Jingjing is awesome. After everything was ready, Yi Xian asked Tang how to take the little girl to school. Although there were no classes today, most of the children came to school to do the general cleaning. This is something that every school does before the holidays, and it also helps to cultivate children's ability to work. After a morning of work, thanks to the cleaning led by two girls, Yi Jing and Zhou Xiaodan, their class was the first to complete the task perfectly. At noon, Chen Jing came to the school gate and picked up the two children to take home for lunch. Aunt Chen Jing, are you not busy recently? Yi Jing looked at Chen Jing, who seemed to have a lot of time recently, and asked while shaking her little head. Chen Jing smiled helplessly, thinking that your father's move has ruined our bank's performance over the years. It's okay. I haven't had anything to do lately. It's okay to take a short rest. All right. Yi Jing nodded and smiled very happily. She also wanted Aunt Chen Jing to have a good rest for a while. After all, Chen Jing had been very busy for a long time before this. Okay, you two girls go wash your hands first, I'll go bring the food over. After arriving at Chen Jing's house, Chen Jing asked the two maids to wash their hands quickly, and she went to the kitchen and brought the meals prepared in advance to the two maids. After dinner, the two girls watched TV, while Chen Jing went to take a shower. At noon in the hottest days of summer, it feels really hot even inside the house. The two little girls sat on the sofa, like two exquisite dolls, watching TV obediently. Suddenly, Chen Jing's cell phone rang. The two girls were attracted by the sound, picked up the phone and saw that it was a video call. They answered it without thinking. Suddenly, two little heads appeared on the screen. They huddled in front of the screen, blinking their cute eyes and grinning, revealing their small and delicate dimples. These two little girls, one is full of energy and the other looks a little shy, but no matter what, these two girls are born exquisite and beautiful, just like the little princesses in fairy tales. Aunt Chen Jing, where is my sister? One of the girls just answered the video call and asked anxiously. At this moment, they noticed that the person in front of them was not Aunt Chen Jing at all, but Yi Jing and Zhou Xiaodan. Yi Jing looked at the two people opposite her and recognized them instantly. They were her second sister Yi Xia and fifth sister Yi Shi. Sister, it's you. Great. I was looking for you. We too will come to see you in a few days. Yi Xia looked at her and saw that it was her sister Yi Jing, and immediately excitedly told her the plans for the next few days. Really? That's great. When Yi Jing learned that his two younger sisters were coming, he was delighted. By the way, where are the second, third, and fourth sisters? At this time, Yi Jing discovered that he did not see the other two sisters on the screen, so he asked casually. It's like this, Auntie Yun was also invited to the closed park, but only two places can be taken away. Xiaoxi and I lost the game of rock paper scissors, so we can only stay in the Magic City. We are at Aunt Yuyan's place right now, and we are also on vacation, so we will plan to visit you in a few days. Yi Xia kept explaining to Yi Jing and the others, while Yi Shi just nodded beside them, saying a few words from time to time, and her voice was very low. Thinking that they would be able to come here in a few days, Yi Xia hugged Yi Shi beside him, and the two of them looked expectantly at Yi Jing and Zhou Xiaodan, who were smiling here. Okay, sister. We'll see you in a few days. Aunt Yuyan is going to take us to the amusement park. As Yi Xia was talking, he was thinking about Aunt Yuyan taking them to the amusement park later. He shook Yi Shi beside him, and then glanced at the screen. Sister, we're hanging up first. Bye. After saying that, Yi Xia hung up the phone in a hurry. Yi Jing was speechless for a moment. The second sister was still impatient, while the fifth sister was always so shy. Originally Yi Jing wanted to tell them the news about Yi Xian, but before she could say a word, her second sister got impatient and hung up the phone. Yi Jing had kept this matter a secret before because she didn't know what kind of person her father was. At this time, Chen Jing also came out of the shower, looked at the two little girls watching TV, and said with a smile. Jingjing, Xiaodan, you must be tired after cleaning all morning, go and have a good sleep. Okay, Aunt Chen Jing. The two girls smiled sweetly, held hands obediently, and went to Chen Jing's room to sleep. In the evening, Yi Xian came to pick up Yi Jing. After returning to the villa, Yi Jing took out a full score test paper from her bag and ran into Yi Xian's arms. Dad, Dad, Dad. Dad, look, I got full marks this time. Yi Xian took the test paper with a smile. Looking at the little red tick on it and Yi Jing's neat handwriting, he couldn't help but give a thumbs up. Jingjing is awesome. Hey, thanks, Dad. Yi Jing spoke, and then looked at Yi Xian seriously. Dad, don't forget, there's a parents' meeting tomorrow afternoon. Yi Xian smiled and gently rubbed the little girl's face. Don't worry, I won't forget it. Time passed quickly and it was noon of the next day. The girl Yi Jing had already arrived at school, and Yi Xian also set off early. Chapter 26, Fog, Look. Tang Hao drove a Rolls-Royce and took Yi Xian to school. We had left home very early, so nothing should have happened, but the accident still happened. the vehicle drove onto an overpass and slowly stopped. When I looked ahead again, I saw that the traffic jam had formed a long dragon. After a long while, the vehicles in front of me didn't move at all. Looking at the long queue in front of him, Tang Hao couldn't help but exclaimed, "That's weird, there's usually no traffic jam here." As he spoke, Tang Hao got out of the car and said to Yi Xian, who was sitting in the back seat, "Brother Yi, I'll go down and take a look. Please wait a moment." Yi Xian nodded, and Tang Hao walked forward. After a while, Tang Hao came back dejectedly. "Alas, there was a car accident ahead. It looks like we won't be able to drive for a while." When Yi Xian heard this, he frowned slightly, got out of the car and walked forward. But seeing this situation, even Yi Xian sighed, leaned against the car and made a phone call. After that, Yi Xian hung up the phone with a much more relaxed expression. On the other side, a male driver looked at Yi Xian leaning next to the Rolls-Royce Phantom Extended Edition, and also noticed this top luxury car, and couldn't help but exclaimed, "Brother! You are young and promising. What's the matter? Is there something urgent?" Yi Xian glanced at him and said with a smile, "I have to go to my daughter's parent-teacher conference. Looks like I'll be late this time." An older sister nearby heard the two people talking and shook her head helplessly. "Alas, there is nothing we can do. This kind of traffic jam is unexpected. This road is usually very smooth. A car accident happened. It can be regarded as a natural disaster or a man-made disaster." Then, she looked at Yi Xian with concern and continued, "By the way, little brother, I have a folding bike in my car. If you don't mind, you can use it for emergency." Yi Xian looked at the elder sister deeply and said with a smile, "Thank you, big sister. No need. Someone will pick me up later." This, ha 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 ha. When the people on the side heard this, they burst into laughter and said to Yi Xian, "Brother, what are you thinking? Who's here to pick you up? Yeah, the traffic is so bad, who can get through? Ha, it's like this, I'm afraid even motorcycles can't get in." People were obviously a little skeptical about this matter. After all, no one would believe it. But soon, everyone heard the sound of helicopter wings in the sky. Hearing the noisy sound, everyone looked over here and saw a large armed helicopter flying in the sky. "It's a helicopter." In an instant, people burst into exclamations at the same time. There was also a look of disbelief in their eyes. How could there be a helicopter here? And it was a real armed helicopter. Impossible. I've lived here for so many years and have never seen an armed helicopter appear here. Is it because of the car accident that we need to ask the military to come and deal with it? Impossible. Do you think this is the brother who was going to attend the parents' meeting? At this time, one of them looked at Yi Xian and suddenly found that Yi Xian had a faint smile on his face. "What are you thinking about? Even if you have money, you can't be treated like this." "Yeah, besides, it's just a traffic jam and I can't attend the parent-teacher meeting on time. Why make such a fuss? Anyway, I don't think this guy has any connection with the army." People looked at the helicopter above and started discussing it, and the surrounding area suddenly became lively. At the same time, on the helicopter, a young man with a firm expression and three-dimensional and stern features was looking down with a pair of eyes like a falcon. Soon, the boy spotted the Rolls-Royce Phantom Extended Edition below and said to the driver next to him, "Drive this way, I see Brother Yi." "Clear." The driver agreed and drove to the side, slowing down a little. Everyone was still talking about it, when someone saw the helicopter coming towards them and suddenly shouted, "Look! The helicopter is coming!" As they were talking, the helicopter had already arrived above everyone's heads. The hatch opened and Bai Xing waved to Yi Xian. "Brother Yi, I'm here." Yi Xian nodded, then looked at the people around him and said with a smile, "Thank you all for your kindness. I'm leaving now." Everyone was stunned for a moment, and looking at Yi Xian's nonchalant smile, they couldn't help but gasp. "No way. This helicopter is really here to pick this person up." In an instant, the crowd around exploded. No one could accept that an armed helicopter would come over their heads just for a young man. It was so bizarre that several drivers couldn't help but pinch themselves. Then their pupils contracted and they realized that this was not a dream. Oh my God! What kind of identity is this? At this moment, everyone's eyes were all looking towards Yi Xian. No one could imagine that this was actually happening. However, people are also confused at the moment. The elevated road is full of cars and the helicopter cannot come down. Moreover, the current height is 6 or 7 meters. How can this person get up? While people were still thinking about it, Yi Xian exerted force with his calves, pushed back, and in front of everyone's astonishment, he jumped directly onto the helicopter and landed steadily on it. Oh my god! This is still a human being. What kind of monster is this? It's 6 or 7 meters high. Today is truly amazing. My worldviews have been refreshed over and over again. At this moment, the crowd below was completely dumbfounded. They stared at the scene with their mouths wide open, rubbing their eyes, and their brains were blank. This is already against common sense, but for Yi Xian, it seems like it is something he can do easily. How horrible! Is this still a human being? At this time, the door of the helicopter closed, and it flew towards the horizon carrying Yi Xian. Only the group of people below were left standing there, looking panicked. On the helicopter, Bai Xing, who was wearing the uniform of the Chinese Yanhuang army and carrying 4 golden beans on his shoulders, looked at Yi Xian and asked respectfully, "Brother Yi, where are we going?" Yi Xian looked in the direction of the elementary school and replied calmly, "Let's go to a primary school over there." Although Bai Xing was a little confused, he nodded, and the helicopter turned and flew in the direction Yi Xian pointed. At the same time, in the elementary school, the 2 girls, Yi Jing and Zhou Xiaodan, were standing at the door. When they saw parents coming, they politely stepped forward to ask who the parents were, and then led them into the class. Zhou Shang saw the 2 little girls from afar, walking towards him in 2 steps at a time. "Dad! You're here!" Zhou Xiaodan smiled sweetly at Zhou Shang. Zhou Shang gently pinched the little girl's face, saw Yi Jing beside him, and asked casually, "Girl, is your Uncle Yi here?" When Zhou Shang heard this, he shook his head slightly. "Not yet, but it should be soon." There was anticipation and a little disappointment in Yi Jing's eyes. After all the parents were almost here. Zhou Shang immediately noticed the disappointment that flashed across Yi Jing's eyes, and patted the little girl's shoulder comfortingly. "Don't worry, girl. Your dad should be here soon." Yi Jing nodded, and believed that her father would come. After all, he had promised her. Zhou Shang didn't say anything more. Seeing that the time was almost up, he said a few words to the 2 girls and walked towards the classroom. After a while, the head teacher saw that most of the people had arrived, so he looked towards Yi Jing. "Yi Jing, is there anyone else whose parents haven't come yet?" Yi Jing's expression was much more lost at this time. He lowered his head and said weakly, "Teacher, my dad is not here yet." The female head teacher looked at the little girl's lost look, with a hint of heartache in her eyes, and gently touched Yi Jing's little head. "It's okay. Maybe something happened on the way? Or maybe something urgent happened? Take your time, we're not in a hurry." Yi Jing looked up at her female head teacher, and her depressed mood improved a little. "Thank you, teacher." Here, Principal Zhang Xingjie and calligraphy and painting master Wang An were also strolling around the campus. Zhang Xingjie's expression was relaxed at this time, and he looked at Wang An and smiled. "Lao Wang, I have nothing to do after this, we can go fishing." Zhang Xingjie stretched lazily as he spoke. Wang An looked at him unhappily and said with contempt, "Mr. Zhang, I used to think you were a responsible principal, but now I see that you are looking forward to the holidays more than the students." Zhang Xingjie felt sore and coughed a few times to ease the embarrassment, then rolled his eyes at Wang An. "Hey! Everyone needs to relax. The students want to relax, and I want to relax too. Besides, I'm old too. I can't compare to these vibrant flowers." Wang An didn't say anything else and nodded seriously. "That's true. In the blink of an eye, you're almost reaching retirement age. Mr. Zhang, have you ever thought about what you are going to do after you retire?" Zhang Xingjie and Wang An paced and began to think about this problem, but in a trance, they saw a helicopter flying in the distant sky. "Fuck! Old one, look!" Chapter 27. You are so weird. Wang An looked up at this moment and saw an armed helicopter hovering over the elementary school. What is going on? Zhang Xingjie's eyelids were twitching wildly at this moment. How could such a small primary school come to such a commotion? Don't just stand there, Lao Zhang. This helicopter looks like it's heading towards the playground. Let's go over there quickly. Wang An looked at the direction the helicopter was circling and pulled Zhang Xingjie, who was still standing there in a daze, towards the playground. For a moment, the sound of helicopter wings scraping through the air resounded throughout the entire elementary school, and many students and teachers also witnessed this horrifying scene. Oh my god, why is there a helicopter coming to our school? Several teachers were holding materials in their hands. When they saw this scene, their hands trembled and they almost dropped all the materials on the ground. Teacher Wang, you have been teaching for a long time. Have you ever seen such a situation before? The younger teachers all turned their eyes to a middle-aged woman beside them. The middle-aged woman shook her head, with a serious look in her eyes. Not to mention the 20 years I've been teaching here, I've never seen anything like this in my entire life. When the other teachers heard this, they also shook their heads helplessly. Do you think this is for a parent-teacher conference for the students? A young teacher looked at the helicopter above and muttered to himself. Impossible. Not to mention that there are students in our school who have private jets at home. This helicopter is a real armed helicopter. How could it appear here? The older middle-aged woman quickly denied the young teacher's guess. It was only then that others noticed that this was actually an armed helicopter. Oh my god. Are you crazy? The students were different from the teachers. Facing such a situation, they just felt excited and talked at once as they looked at the armed helicopter that was slowly landing towards the playground. Hey! This looks like a helicopter that only soldiers can fly. It's so cool. I want to be a soldier and fly this plane in the future. Quick! Let's go check it out. It looks like the helicopter is going to land on the playground. Soon, all the students headed towards the playground, and some teachers did the same. The armed helicopter was flying lower and lower, and as the speed of its wings became slower and slower, it slowly landed on the playground. When Zhang Xingjie saw this, he hurried over to greet them, his steps old and heavy. Seeing the helicopter coming down, he was also nervous. There hadn't been any illegal or disorderly incidents in their school. Besides, even if it happened, it should be the police who came. How did the military get involved? At this moment, the door of the helicopter opened and Yi Xian jumped down first. Everyone stared at him closely, but they did not recognize this man. Zhang Xingjie was even more surprised when he saw Yi Xian coming down without any military uniform. What on earth was going on? Thinking of this, Zhang Xingjie walked quickly towards Yi Xian, and a little girl next to her, like a little whirlwind, instantly surpassed her and threw herself into Yi Xian's arms. Dad! I thought you weren't coming. Dad! Zhang Xingjie and Wang An beside him looked at each other. This man was actually the father of this little girl. Zhang Xingjie wiped his sweat, quickly walked towards Yi Xian, and looked up and down at the man in front of him. Hello, I'm Zhang Xingjie, the principal of this school. May I ask who you are? The little girl hugged Yi Xian tightly, and when she saw Zhang Xingjie behind her, she made a face at him. Principal, this is my dad. He's here to hold a parents' meeting for me. Zhang Xingjie fell silent when he heard this. You're telling me that this is a parents' meeting? Hello, principal. I'm Yi Jing's father. I'm sorry for what happened today. Yi Xian smiled apologetically, stretched out his hand to Zhang Xingjie, and the two shook hands gently. Today, I was stuck in traffic and was afraid I would be late, so I did this. I'm so sorry. Listening to Yi Xian's explanation, the corners of Zhang Xingjie's mouth were twitching, and he was suddenly speechless. This is what it means to be late for a parent-teacher conference and then come to the elementary school in an armed helicopter. So if you have an argument with someone on the road, do you have to drive a tank and kill everyone? Well, I can understand your feelings. Although Zhang Xingjie felt a little ashamed, he still smiled with relief. Being able to attend a parent-teacher meeting on a military-armed helicopter is not something that ordinary people can do. Principal, I have to go to the parents' meeting first. This helicopter may have to stay here for a while. When Zhang Xingjie heard this, he quickly waved his hands to indicate that it was not a big deal. It's okay. I'll take you there. This plane won't crush the plastic lawn here. Yi Xian did not reject Zhang Xingjie's enthusiasm and followed Zhang Xingjie to Yi Jing's class. As soon as he walked into the classroom and sat down, Yi Xian attracted the attention of the parents around him. These parents had heard about what had just happened. When they knew that Yi Xian came to the parent-teacher meeting in an armed helicopter, they were immediately frightened. At the same time, they all knew that Yi Xian was the one who took their children to Ziqi's concert. They all stood up, looked at Yi Xian, and expressed their gratitude. Dad Yi Jing, I really don't know how to thank you. I really troubled you with the last concert. Yeah, it's not an easy task to take care of so many children. Mr. Yi, I'm here to thank you on behalf of my daughter. She's so happy every day now. Zhou Shang also had a smile on his face at this time and spoke to Yi Xian. Mr. Yi, even with the way you appeared, we are still far from being able to match you. When other parents heard this, they also echoed it. Indeed, I have never seen anyone come to a parent-teacher conference in an armed helicopter before. This is more than just a promising young man. He has surpassed the heights that ordinary people like us can imagine. Mr. Yi, you really opened our eyes this time. Listening to the words of the parents around him, Yi Xian just smiled and waved his hand. Sorry, I was stuck in traffic. I couldn't help it. When the parents heard this, the corners of their mouths couldn't help but twitch slightly, but they still had an understanding smile on their faces. The head teacher wiped his sweat, looked at the report cards, certificates, and prizes on the table, suppressed the nervousness in his heart, took a few deep breaths, and spoke to the group of parents. Dear parents, now that everyone is here, let's start the meeting. After hearing the head teacher's voice, the parents below also quieted down and looked towards the podium. At this time, on the playground outside, Bai Xing was standing next to the helicopter, still a little dazed. Thinking about Brother Yi's smile just now, he couldn't help but sigh in his heart. How long has it been since he saw Brother Yi smile so happily? Back then, Brother Yi was stationed in the southwest. He had only one red flag and one sharp blade, and he pushed the enemy back thousands of miles away. What kind of courage and fierceness was that? Just that one look is enough to shock people, and even some timid guys may have a mental breakdown on the spot. That aura and his current appearance are definitely two different people. His thoughts were pulled back to the past. Bai Xing was stunned for a long while before he looked at Yi Jing, who was playing and fighting on the playground. Little sister, come here. Looking at the cute and lively Yi Jing, Bai Xing tried his best to look more friendly and called her over. Yi Jing heard Bai Xing calling her and trotted over. Several other children also followed her. Uncle, what's the matter? Yi Jing blinked her big watery eyes innocently and looked at Bai Xing, who was in military uniform, with curiosity. Bai Xing looked at Yi Jing's face and his eyelids twitched wildly. So much like him. So much like Brother Yi. When did Brother Yi have a child? And he's so big now. Bai Xing was so shocked at this time that he couldn't figure out when Brother Yi had a child. But he also knew that these were not things he should ask. Yi Jing and a few other kids looked at Bai Xing, who had a confused look on his face, and didn't know what was going on. Yi Jing walked forward in small steps and poked Bai Xing lightly. Uncle, what's wrong with you? Ah. Bai Xing finally reacted. He looked down at those innocent smiling faces and suddenly felt a warmth in his heart. Do you like the helicopter behind me? Bai Xing laughed and pointed at the helicopter behind him and asked. Like. Yi Jing and several other children answered in unison. How about taking you guys on a plane trip? Real. When the little guys in front of me heard that they could ride in a helicopter, their eyes suddenly lit up with excitement. Thank you, Uncle. Yi Jing giggled and thanked Bai Xing. When Bai Xing heard this, he realized that the girl had been calling him uncle. His face suddenly turned dark and he pursed his lips. Call me brother. I'm not old, why are you calling me uncle? Yi Jing rolled her bright and clever eyes and raised a smile. Then brother, don't you have to call my dad uncle? Bai Xing was speechless for a moment. Looking at the innocent little girl in front of him, he smiled awkwardly and gently pinched Yi Jing's little face. You are the most clever girl. Chapter 28. My daughter is here. Okay, come up quickly, brother will show you some fun. Yeah. Yi Jing and the other little ones couldn't contain their excitement any longer and lined up to get on the helicopter. The little guys were very curious about everything inside and were touching and looking around. Okay, sit tight, I'll fasten your seatbelts for you. Bai Xing smiled and fastened the seatbelts for the little ones. After that, the helicopter began to hover above the school again, immediately attracting countless people's attention again. However, this time, the silver bell-like laughter of a few little guys could be faintly heard above the helicopter. Yi Jing and those kids had a lot of fun. After a while, the parent-teacher meeting gradually came to an end, and Yi Xian walked out of the classroom with a group of parents. At this time, he was still holding the little girl's small school bag in his hand. On the side of the school bag were the words he gave to Yi Jing, carefully placed in a small rosewood bamboo tube. This girl. Yi Xian smiled slightly and then walked towards the playground. Hurry up. Don't let me catch you. Before reaching the playground, Yi Xian heard the laughter and noise of Bai Xing and the other children. When I walked over, I saw that Bai Xing was playing Eagle Catches Chicken with Yi Jing and the kids in Yi Jing's class. Bai Xing has now truly become a king among children. He just took the children for a ride on a helicopter, and Bai Xing's favorability in the children's hearts has also skyrocketed. Ahem. Yi Xian coughed softly, and Bai Xing immediately returned to normal. Yi, brother Yi, are you done? Yi Xian nodded, and the little girl Yi Jing threw herself into Yi Xian's arms. Dad. This brother just took us on a plane. Yeah. It's fun, right? It's so fun. It's Jingjing's first time riding a helicopter. Yi Xian touched the little girl's head lovingly and prepared to take her back. Just as he was about to board the plane, Yi Xian looked at Zhou Xiaodan standing beside him. Girl, do you want to go play with us? The girl Zhou Xiaodan was a little hesitant at this time and looked at Zhou Shang beside her. Dad, can I go play with Uncle Yi? It's okay, go ahead. Zhou Shang smiled happily and agreed on the spot. Okay, bye, Dad. Then, Yi Xian took the two children onto the helicopter and left the school. On the helicopter, Yi Jing looked at Yi Xian for a while, then rubbed her hands, looking somewhat restrained. Yi Xian was watching from the side and couldn't help but feel it was unusual, so he asked with a smile. Jingjing, what's wrong with you? Is there any problem? Dad, It was obvious that something was not right with Yi Jing. Her tone was intermittent and her eyes were evasive when she looked at Yi Xian. It was obvious that she was avoiding something. After thinking for a moment, Yi Jing let out a breath and finally made up his mind. Dad, I have something I want to tell you, but you can't blame me if you know it. Ha ha ha, how could Daddy blame you? Just tell me now, Jingjing. Yi Xian immediately laughed and gently scratched Yi Jing's nose. Dad, you and I agreed on this. The little girl's expression became serious, while Zhou Xiaodan beside her was laughing secretly. She knew in her heart that Yi Jing was going to tell Yi Xian something, and was curious about Yi Xian's expression, so she looked at Yi Xian along with Yi Jing. Don't worry. Dad doesn't blame you. Yi Xian nodded heavily and promised the little girl that he would not blame her. All right. After hearing this, Yi Jing finally felt relieved. She took a deep breath and let out the secret that had been in her heart for a long time. Dad, I have 4 younger sisters. I have never told you about this. They are all in the Magic City now. Boom. Suddenly, Yi Xian was stunned. The smile on his face froze in an instant. His brain could not process so much information at once, and there was a brief blank. But then, Yi Xian was filled with ecstasy, and Bai Xing, who was sitting opposite him, was even more shocked. He had never seen Brother Yi with such an expression. Yi Xian looked at Yi Jing. The girl lowered her head and was a little afraid to face Yi Xian. But Yi Xian certainly understood the girl's little thoughts, and secretly praised her in his heart. This girl is quite good and has a strong sense of vigilance. Dad, you're not angry, are you? Yi Jing didn't dare to look up at Yi Xian, as she was afraid to see her father angry. But at this moment, a big warm hand pressed on her head. Jingjing, why would Dad be angry? Dad is so happy. Really? Yi Jing heard the joy in Yi Xian's voice, and when she looked up, she saw her father's eyes sparkling with happiness. With you lovely angels, Daddy is the happiest man in the world. Yi Xian looked at the little girl's cautious gaze, knowing that she was worried that he would be angry. He suddenly felt even more pity for her. He picked up Yi Jing and kissed her gently on the cheek. By the way, Dad, Xia Xia and Xiaoxi will be here tomorrow, let's go pick them up. Great. Let's go together. Upon learning that his 2 daughters would be here tomorrow, Yi Xian couldn't help but get excited. Afterwards, Yi Jing told Yi Xian that her 2 younger sisters had gone abroad, and Yi Xian nodded happily. After returning to the villa, Yi Xian prepared dinner for the 2 girls. After dinner, the 2 girls were still watching TV with great energy, and Yi Xian walked up to them with a smile. Girls, go to bed early. Then, Yi Xian suddenly remembered that the girls were on vacation, thought about it, and continued. Can I take you to see Dad's big vault tomorrow? When the 2 girls heard the word big treasury, countless images flashed through their minds and they nodded heavily. Good. Afterwards, Yi Jing took Zhou Xiaodan, and the 2 girls took a bath, then immediately went back to their room to sleep. But Yi Xian didn't find it so easy to fall asleep tonight. After all, he had just learned of such a surprise, and his heart was a little unsettled for a while. Standing by the window, Yi Xian looked at the moonlight outside, and was also missing a night 7 or 8 years ago. That time, although it was unintentional, it allowed me, a lonely person, to have such a group of elves. They were like bright lights, illuminating his originally lonely life. Fine. Yi Xian muttered to himself as he poured himself a cup of tea and sipped it gently. Dad, aren't you asleep yet? At this time, Yi Jing also woke up. She rubbed her eyes listlessly and saw Yi Xian still drinking tea outside. She walked over in a daze to add more tea for Yi Xian, then lay on Yi Xian's back and soon fell asleep. This girl. Yi Xian suddenly laughed inside, then gently picked up the girl, took her back to the room, and covered her with a quilt. At this moment, on the other side, on the train from Shanghai to Jinling, there were still many children who had not fallen asleep yet. The two girls, Yi Xia and Yi Shi, were hugging each other and lying on the berth. Several little girls nearby ran towards them and looked at them with smiles on their faces. Xia Xia Xiaoxi, my mom said she has chartered a bus, so we can travel here together then, okay? Chapter 29 Lovely Daughter. The two girls were sleeping soundly before, but when they heard the noise, Yi Xia sat up first, looking at the little girls who were talking in a daze. Ah, Xiaowei, it's you. But before she could answer, she heard a little boy running towards her in a hurry. And me. And me. My father said we're going to have lunch at the Grand Hotel tomorrow. He's treating us. For a moment, the little girls who had just spoken became unhappy and glared at the little boy angrily. Snort! The little boy was not to be outdone. He snorted and looked at the little girls with displeasure. For a moment, the two sides looked at each other, as if they were competing with each other and neither of them was willing to admit defeat. Thank you so much. Just when the situation was tense, Yi Xia rubbed his slightly messy hair lying on the berth, smiled and thanked the boys and girls. After hearing what Yi Xia said, the two people just now calmed down a little and looked at each other awkwardly. Hey, we are all good friends. Yi Shi, who was next to her, also sat up at this time, rubbed her eyes, looked sleepy, and spoke in a baby voice. Thank you everyone. When a few little girls saw Yi Shi wake up, they couldn't help but come forward and rub Yi Shi's chubby face. Cici, you are so cute. Several little girls gathered in front of Yi Shi with laughter, causing Yi Shi's face to blush and she hid behind Yi Xia. At this time, in a berth on the other side, several adults were talking about parenting. Oh, you don't know, my boy, although he is smart and lively, he always gets into trouble. A middle-aged woman with curly hair said with a sad face, while several other people around her expressed opposing opinions. Sister Zhang, isn't this great? I think children need to move more and be more lively. Yes, Aunt Zhang, my daughter is not that active. I taught her to learn from your child. Children, this is their nature. As parents, we just need to give them proper guidance, but we can't kill their nature. As he was speaking, a middle-aged man lying on the lower bunk stretched out, looking relaxed and comfortable, and said with emotion. Oh. It's so comfortable. You don't know how tired we parents are when our children are in school. Parent-child activities, checking homework, watching online classes. I feel like my hair is getting thinner and thinner. After hearing what the middle-aged man said, the others nodded repeatedly, each of them was deeply moved. Yes, as parents, we are the equivalent of accompanying our children to study. How can it be called earnest advice? My child, I accompany him to do his homework every day, and I am so tired of talking, but I can never change his way of thinking. Hey! Thanks to the kids being on holiday, we can take them out to play and relax ourselves at the same time. For a moment, people in the carriage were all excited about the topic, as if everyone had a similar experience. Speaking of which, it's not easy for us parents nowadays. That's not true. We didn't have to worry about anything before when we went to junior high school. Now there are special training classes for primary school students. I really don't understand. Oh. It's too normal. Let me tell you secretly, my sister Wang Ermiai's daughter just graduated from kindergarten, and the kindergarten has set up a holiday elementary school elite transition class. Okay, it's vacation time now, so I won't talk about this anymore. Perhaps because these topics were too heavy, the parents only chatted for a few words and then moved on to the trip. At this time, a woman named Zhang Jia slapped her head and said to several people. I forgot to tell you that there are many fun things to do in Jinling. I also hired a tour guide, and he will take us to have fun when the time comes. When the people nearby heard this, they all frowned slightly and smiled embarrassedly. Oh, how can I accept this? It's such a waste. Zhang Jia waved her hands and didn't take it seriously at all. What's the big deal? You guys spent a lot of money this time, one of you booked a hotel, and the other one booked a bus. Compared to you, I am so far behind. As a result, the other people also smiled, coughed lightly a few times, and said with a smile. Well, this is all for the good of the children. It's not easy for children to have a holiday. Isn't this what we parents do? Yes. It's all for the children to have fun. If the children are happy, we will be happy too. When talking about their children, the parents all had a warm smile on their faces. Zhang Jie also smiled gently and looked towards the other end of the carriage. Let's go check on the kids. Okay. The others nodded, stood up and walked towards the children's carriage. Zhang Jie quickly walked to the sleeper car nearby and watched Yixia and Yishi hugging each other, sleeping soundly in this swaying car. She unconsciously put on a smile and tucked in the quilts for the two girls. The next day, at dawn, Yi Xian got up early to cook. After a while, the two girls smelled the fragrance of the food and jumped up. Zhou Xiaodan put on her clothes, stretched, and looked excitedly at Yi Jing beside her. Oh! It feels so good not to have to go to school in the morning. Yi Jing also nodded in agreement, and then the two maids went downstairs. Yi Xian had just finished cooking. Okay, after washing up, come and eat. Good. The two girls nodded and walked hand in hand into the washroom nearby. After eating, Yi Xian took the two girls to the train station without stopping. Before leaving, Yi Xian did not forget to pack a breakfast. At the same time, at the exit of the train station, Chen Jing also got up very early and had been waiting here for a long time. Chen Jing. You are here too. Yi Xian saw Chen Jing and greeted her. Aunt Chen Jing. The two little girls, Yi Jing and Zhou Xiaodan, were even more excited and threw themselves directly into Chen Jing's arms. Mr. Yi, are you here to wait for Xia Xia and Xi Xi as well? Yi Xian smiled, his eyes always looking forward to the exit, and answered softly. Yes. Chen Jing nodded and said nothing more. The few of them waited together for the arrival of the two girls, Yi Jing and Yi Xi. After a while, a series of small figures rushed out from the exit. You guys, slow down. Several parents carrying luggage also hurried over, holding the hands of the children who couldn't sit still, and maintaining order here. After all, it's a place like a train station, with a high flow of people, so we still have to keep an eye on these half-grown children. Yi Xia carefully held Yixi's little hand and walked side by side with her small school bag on her back. Compared with the children who were playing and fighting before, the two girls looked much more well-behaved. Hello, Aunt Chen Jing. When the two girls saw Chen Jing, they quickened their pace and greeted her sweetly. Xia Xia, Xiao Xi, hello. Chen Jing nodded and waved to the two girls with a smile. The two girls suddenly saw Yi Xian at this time. Yi Xian also half-squatted and looked at them. Are you Xia Xia and Xiao Xi? The two were puzzled, but they looked at Yi Xian without any sense of vigilance, and then looked at Yi Jing, who looked at them. Xia Xia, Xiao Xi, this is our dad. Sister, Aunt Chen Jing, is this true? Yi Xia held Yixi's white and tender little hand and asked in disbelief. Yi Jing and Chen Jing both nodded, and tears welled up in Yi Jing's eyes. Of course, this tear is excitement, and happiness. Seeing this scene, Yi Xi and Yi Xia's bodies trembled slightly. They looked carefully at Yi Xian in front of them, but they could no longer hold back their tears. Dad! Yi Xi and Yi Xia cried out in unison, tears welling up in their eyes, and they threw themselves into Yi Xian's arms. Dad, we miss you so much. We really, really miss you. Especially Yi Xia, who was crying particularly loudly at this time, attracting the attention of many people around. Yi Xi also buried her little head deeply in Yi Xian's arms, sobbing constantly, and her tears soon soaked Yi Xian's clothes. My dear daughters, stop crying. Isn't Daddy here? Xia Xia, Xiao Xi, Daddy misses you too. You are Daddy's little angels. Yi Xian gently stroked the heads of the two girls in his arms, comforting them constantly. It was Dad's fault before. God took pity on Dad and let him meet you again. This time, Dad will be with you. It was Yi Xian, whose eyes twitched slightly at this moment, looking at his clothes wet by the tears of the two girls, with a complicated expression on his face, containing both indescribable excitement and deep self-blame. This scene quickly attracted other parents and children around. Seeing the two girls hugging Yi Xian tightly, the parents looked at Yi Xian with some confusion. Who are you? Yi Xian looked up and saw everyone gathering around him. He paused slightly, but reacted instantly and said with a smile. Hello everyone, I'm Xia Xia and Xiao Xi's father. Oh, so that's how it is. Everyone looked at them in amazement, and the two sides got to know each other. These parents were completely stunned by Yi Xian at this moment. They couldn't believe that Yi Xian in front of them was so young. Not only is he young, but he is also so handsome that anyone who sees him will be obsessed with him, which shocked these parents even more. Yi Xian held the two little girls, Yi Xia and Yi Shi, and spoke to the parents with a smile. Welcome to Jinling, and thank you for taking care of these two girls. This time, I will naturally do my best to be a good host. As he was talking, Tang Hao, who was standing nearby, also drove over here. When the children saw the extended version of the Rolls-Royce Phantom driving over, they couldn't help but exclaim. Wow! This car is really long. It looks great. I love this car so much. Mom, what kind of car is this? For a moment, all the children looked at the Rolls-Royce and seemed to like this car very much. The parents standing by all covered their mouths and looked at this scene in surprise. At this moment, a parent's pupils suddenly contracted, and he looked at the luxury car in front of him and spoke stutteringly. This is a car worth more than 200 million. What? For a moment, all the parents around were stunned. Although they were mentally prepared that this was a very expensive car, this was really too outrageous. Tang Hao looked at the situation in front of him, as well as the other two little girls in Yi Xian's arms, and couldn't help but be stunned and looked at Yi Xian. Brother Yi, how about I call a few more cars? Boom! Before Yi Xian could reply, the parents around him had already opened their eyes wide, their bodies as if they had been electrocuted, and they all looked at Yi Xian. Mr. Yi, is this car yours? Facing the horrified gazes of the crowd, Yi Xian nodded lightly. Yes. Everybody get in the car. In an instant, all the parents around were stunned, and the way they looked at Yi Xian changed. At this time, the parents suddenly remembered what Tang Hao had said just now, asking whether they should call for more cars. Does this mean that Yi Xian has more than just one car? Oh my god! The parents all shuddered at this moment, looked at each other, and understood what each other meant. Well, Mr. Yi, thank you for your kindness. Let's go shopping by ourselves. Yes, we are new here, so we don't want to trouble you. We can do it ourselves. Don't worry, Mr. Yi. We called a bus ourselves. Besides, it's not convenient to put our bags in your car. At this time, all the parents smiled and declined Yi Xian's kindness. They also understood why. After all, their children are not so honest. If they damage something while riding in these luxury cars, they cannot afford to pay for it. While I was still making excuses, a bus came and stopped by. Mr. Yi, our car is here, so we'll leave first. When Yi Xian saw this scene, he nodded. He also understood the thoughts of these parents and did not try to persuade them to stay. Let's get in the car. At that moment, Yi Xian took the children and Shen Jing into the car. The girl Yi Jing was sitting next to Yi Xian, looking chubby, with Yi Xia and Yi Shi around her. Yi Jing suddenly remembered something and looked at Yi Xian with a smile. By the way, Dad, shall we go and see the big vault now? Right. Yi Xian smiled and nodded. What big vault? Shen Jing smiled and asked with some confusion. Yi Jing pouted, she herself didn't quite understand. Jingjing doesn't understand either, but Dad said he has a big treasury, so he doesn't want Jingjing's small treasury. So that's how it is. Chen Jing smiled, but the corners of her mouth twitched slightly. For some reason, she suddenly had a premonition that Yi Xian's so-called big treasury was definitely something extraordinary. Chapter 30. This. So much gold. So, Chen Jing and a few little girls were all confused, while Tang Hao drove towards the other side. By the way, where are we going? Chen Jing looked out the window, not knowing where to go, and asked Yi Xian casually. Let's go to Ningjiang Palace. Ningjiang Palace. Chen Jing repeated it with some doubt. She had also been in Jinling for many years, so naturally she had some understanding of the Ningjiang Palace. Oh my god! This palace is the most luxurious palace in all of Jinling. But tourists are not allowed to visit here. I have wanted to go and see it for a long time, but I heard that this place seems to be privately occupied by someone. Thinking of this, Chen Jing suddenly looked at Yi Xian and recalled what happened just now. Then she was stunned, swallowed her saliva, and stared at Yi Xian. Why are you looking at me like that? Chen Jing didn't say anything, but took a breath and asked with narrowed eyes. Could it be that this Ningjiang Palace is yours? Yi Xian nodded slightly, looking calm and composed. Yes, what's the matter? The words were shocking, and for a moment, Chen Jing was completely dumbfounded. This guy really doesn't take this matter seriously. This is the Ningjiang Palace. How much power does it take to be able to privately own a place like this? Chen Jing looked at Yi Xian, wanting to say something, but couldn't say anything. It felt like there was a weight blocking her throat. Yi Xian was looking at the scenery outside the window with a slight smile on his face. The scenery outside the window gradually changed from an ordinary green belt to a grand one as the vehicle moved forward. When we arrived near the Ningjiang Palace, we were surrounded by green trees and the walls on the side were vermilion lacquered. While bright, they also carried a heavy sense of history. The carvings on the red walls are also bright and simple, completely different from modern buildings. They have an ancient charm and a grandeur that is difficult to describe in words. The trees on the side also appear vigorous and strong, towering into the clouds. These are wonders that have been cultivated by countless generations of people over countless years. Several little girls watched this scene with great interest in their eyes, while Chen Jing's eyes were filled with regret like raging waves. The vehicle drove slowly, and after a long time, it finally arrived at the gate of the palace. "Okay, we're here, everyone get off the bus." Yi Xian smiled and got out of the car with a few girls. Chen Jing followed closely behind and came to the wide bronze door. "Wow! This place is so beautiful. Dad, can we go in? Dad, I really want to go in and play." A few little girls looked at the wide and magnificent gate and suddenly became excited, clamoring to go in and take a look. Of course. Yi Xian squatted down and rubbed the little girls' faces, then nodded with a smile. Bang, bang, bang. Tang Hao parked the car, walked forward knowingly, and gently knocked on the bronze door in front of him. Soon, the door opened and a butler came out. The butler is an old man. Although he is in his 70s, he has an extraordinary temperament. The old man was wearing a green gown and had a long braid. He looked gentle, well-educated, and holding a paper fan in his hand, he looked very polite. The old man first bowed respectfully, then saw Yi Xian and said with a smile, "Sir, are you here? Please come in quickly." Yi Xian nodded, and walked into the heavy door with a few maids and Chen Jing. As soon as they came in, Chen Jing and a few little girls were all stunned. They looked at him with dull expressions and stood there in a daze. Wow! What kind of place is this? This is so luxurious. I've never seen a place like this before. Seeing the scene, Chen Jing's heart was beating even more nervous. At this moment, she was completely broken down. When she looked at Yi Xian, her eyes were full of complexity and shock. "Come in and take a break." Yi Xian smiled and led everyone to the lounge inside. The furniture and tea sets inside were all made of rosewood. "Everyone, please have some tea." The old butler quickly brought the tea and placed it respectfully in front of everyone. "Have some tea, and then I'll take you for a stroll." Several girls nodded heavily, and at this time, the air was filled with the fragrance of tea. Ah! Suddenly, Yi Jing touched her small bag, but couldn't find her cell phone. "I forgot my phone. It's in the car." "Sister! Let's go find it together with you." Yi Xia and Yi Shi stood up and went out with Yi Jing to find the phone. "Dad, we'll be right back." "Yeah. Slow down, no rush." Yi Xian smiled and watched the three girls walk out of the house. At this moment, a bus stopped in the distance. The tour guide led the children and parents down and began to introduce the Ningjiang Palace. "Everyone, this Ningjiang Palace is a historical building that is hundreds of years old. It embodies the crystallization of ancient architecture of our Chinese civilization and has a long cultural history. The architecture of the Ningjiang Palace is quite exquisite. It can be said that it is the essence of the lifelong efforts of skilled craftsmen 100 years ago. No matter the materials or the craftsmanship, this is a cultural treasure of China and even the world." Listening to the guide's introduction, everyone looked at the Ningjiang Palace in front of them and were dumbfounded for a moment. My God, just looking outside, it feels so grand and majestic. It's hard to imagine that this place is so well preserved. It's incredible. The ancient craftsmen were truly amazing. Who on earth could have built such a building? For a time, both parents and children became very interested in this place. "By the way, can we go in and take a look?" One of the parents became more and more fascinated as he watched, and looked at the tour guide beside him and asked anxiously. The tour guide shook his head regretfully and sighed slightly. "Sorry, this place is not allowed. This used to be a hereditary place, and now it is also private land. It is not a tourist attraction. At best, we can only take some photos outside, or get a little closer to take a look. But we just can't go in. This is a matter of principle and there's nothing we can do about it." Having said this, the tour guide's expression suddenly became a little serious. He took a deep breath and continued. And I heard that the owner here is quite powerful. Is that so? All right. When the parents heard this, they could only nod helplessly. Then let's take a closer look. The tour guide nodded and led everyone towards the door. But when everyone just arrived at the bronze door, they suddenly found that the bronze door, which had been standing still, suddenly opened at this moment. The tour guide was also stunned for a moment. This was the first time she saw someone entering and leaving the Ningjiang Palace. Wow! Someone's coming out. At this time, a child pointed excitedly in front of him, and everyone looked over there. The people who came out at this time were none other than Yi Jing and others who were preparing to go out to the car to look for their mobile phones. When the parents and children saw the scene, they were all stunned. They pointed at the little girls who opened the door and came out, and spoke excitedly. Mom! Look, it's Xia Xia, Xiaoxi, and their sister. Everyone was stunned at this time and rubbed their eyes more than once, thinking that some incredible hallucination had appeared. But after confirming again and again, the people who came were still Yi Jing and others. But the tour guide just said that this is a private residence. How did these girls get in? Miss Tour Guide, didn't you say that we are not allowed to enter here? Yes, Tour Guide, is there a mistake? Why were these girls able to enter? What's going on? Can't we go in? For a moment, all the parents looked at the tour guide. The tour guide was also confused at this time and frowned, not understanding what was going on at all. Yi Xia also recognized the people coming and waved to them. Uncle and aunt, it's you. I'm Xiao Xia. Hearing Yi Xia's voice, all the parents and children came over. Xiao Xia, what's going on? How did you get in? Yi Xia looked at everyone's puzzled expressions, somewhat bewildered, and continued to explain. This is my father's place. My father brought me in. Wow! Suddenly, the air at the scene became frozen as Yi Xia uttered the innocent words. People looked at Yi Xia, this girl, and the corners of their mouths were twitching slightly. For a moment, the originally playful crowd became silent. The children saw that the adults had dull eyes and did not speak. They just looked at the scene outside the bronze door with longing in their eyes. Afterwards, Yi Jing took out the cell phone and skipped in with Yi Xia and Yi Shi. Would you like to come in and play together? When Yi Xia was about to go in, he waved to the children outside. Yeah. The children then followed Yi Xia and the other girls into the bronze door. The parents outside wanted to stop them, but the children were running too fast and they hadn't reacted yet. Helplessly, the parents had no choice but to follow their children inside without caring too much. The tour guide was standing outside in a daze at this moment, and wanted to go in as well, but after taking just 2 steps, he stopped again. There was no way, she didn't dare to do this. At this moment she could only stand outside, just standing here, staring at the scene inside the bronze door, her eyes full of longing. I'm stunned. There's something else going on here. It's worth it to be able to see such a place in this lifetime. Fuck, a place like this is actually private. The parents strolled in the garden, admiring the surrounding flowers and plants, as well as the artistic conception of the deep city walls and courtyards, and were filled with emotion. Mr. Yi. At this time, one of the parents looked at a man next to him and suddenly burst into an exclamation. Yi Xian also walked over here with a smile and greeted everyone. Hello everyone. What a coincidence. Don't stand there, come in and have a cup of hot tea. Seeing Yi Xian's enthusiasm, everyone smiled embarrassedly. Mr. Yi, I'm sorry, the children just followed your girl in, and we didn't think too much about it and followed them in too. After hearing everyone's explanation, Yi Xian waved his hand lightly. It's okay, come in, you're welcome. Oh, Mr. Yi is so enthusiastic. Everyone did not refuse and followed Yi Xian into the reception room. Everyone, please take a seat. When the parents saw the rosewood furniture and tea sets around them, they almost couldn't close their mouths for a moment. Only when they heard Yi Xian's voice did they slowly sit down. Then, Yi Xian poured tea for the parents. Suddenly, the whole reception room was filled with the fragrance of tea, and everyone's breath was filled with the rich aroma of tea. This is great tea. For a moment, when people smelled the fragrance of tea, they felt refreshed and immediately felt a sense of comfort from top to bottom in their lungs. Holding up the exquisite teacup in front of them, the parents took a sip and suddenly their bodies shuddered and they were stunned. Everyone present felt that the aroma of this tea was difficult to describe in words, as if there was no other kind of tea in the world that could compare to the tea before them. Mr. Yi, your tea is absolutely amazing. We have never tasted it in our lives. Oh my god, this tea is absolutely the best in the world. Thank you, Mr. Yi, for your hospitality. We are so unworthy of it. Yi Xian took a sip of tea, then waved his hand with a smile. It's okay, everyone, enjoy your meal, we'll go somewhere else later. Soon, everyone was drinking tea and chatting, and a pot of tea was gone in no time. Yi Xian stood up and looked at the people around him. Come on, everyone, let's go for a walk together. Yi Xian made an inviting gesture, and the old butler smiled and bowed as he walked forward, leading everyone forward. Led by the housekeeper, everyone strolled around and arrived at a garden. Everyone, this is the elegant garden in our palace. There are countless precious flowers and plants planted here. There is also a small canal in the middle, and the most precious koi are raised in it. Since the palace was built, the flowers, plants and koi here have not been replaced except for daily maintenance and feeding, maintaining their original flavor. The old butler bowed forward and introduced with a kind smile. When everyone saw this scene, they were also stunned. So, the history here is hundreds of years old. These koi are really big, look at that beard. And these flowers and plants, I've never seen them before. For a moment, everyone was stunned by the scenery of Yaoyuan. Such well-preserved garden scenery is rare to see. Afterwards, the butler led everyone forward again. The garden gradually became sparsely populated, and then after passing through a narrow door, the view began to become wider. Suddenly, a scene of rockery, flowing water, and pavilions appeared in front of me. Wah 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 wah. The sound of splashing water immediately reached everyone's ears, and the scene of the waterside pavilions and towers in front of them inevitably made everyone's eyes brighten again. Everyone, this is a very special place in our palace. It was created by the most outstanding craftsman of the time who spent half his life's energy on it. The rockery and pavilion here are all designed as a whole, and the small waterfall at the back is naturally formed. This pavilion was hollowed out from a single ancient log, and was built with the utmost care and effort by the most skillful carving master of the time. After hearing these words, the people around were completely dumbfounded. This place could be said to be a paradise on earth, a scenery that people had never seen before. The parents all took a deep breath, their mouth corners twitching slightly, and for a moment they didn't know what to say. The children also opened their eyes wide, and looked at Yi Xian excitedly. Uncle, can we take pictures here? Looking at the children's expectant smiles, Yi Xian nodded slightly. Of course, just shoot it. Great. Thank you, uncle. With Yi Xian's permission, the children took out their mobile phones and captured the hard-to-see scenery in front of them on the small screens. Kids, let's take a picture together. The parents also smiled and pulled their children, taking out their mobile phones to take pictures. Some parents stood between the rockery and the waterfall and took photos together. The scenery here is extremely beautiful, just like the pavilions and palaces in the sky. It is unforgettable and it feels like a different world. The continuous shudder sounds from parents and children not only brought a lot of life to the Ningjiang Palace, which had been silent for a long time, but also gave everyone an indelible memory. Girls, let's take a picture together. Yi Xian also squatted down and looked at Yi Jing and the other two girls gently, and shook the mobile phone in his hand. Several girls nodded in unison, smiled, and excitedly came to Yi Xian's side. Yi Xian squatted down, and several girls followed him into Yi Xian's arms, blinking their big watery eyes and looking at the camera in front of them. Girls, look at the camera and smile. Yeah. The girls were all smiling very happily in Yi Xian's arms. With the sound of shutter clicks, this heartwarming picture was instantly frozen. Everyone's smile was very sweet. Dad, I want to see your big vault. After taking the photos, Yi Jing suddenly remembered the previous visit to the big vault, and looked at Yi Xian in front of her with anticipation. Okay. Yi Xian gently rubbed the little heads of the maids and nodded to the old housekeeper beside him. The old butler immediately understood and led everyone to the other side. The old butler then looked at the others and said, "Everyone, please go to the dining room and wait." Everyone in Shenjing also understood that this was an order to expel them, and they wisely did not follow them. After all, they knew their identities, and it was not easy for them to come in and broaden their horizons. Following the guidance of the old housekeeper, several little girls in Yi Xian came to an open area. There was only a huge stone lion. People standing next to the stone lion looked too small. Ladies, please wait a moment. The old butler bowed slightly, walked to the feet of the lion, and pulled open a mechanism on the stone lion's claws, revealing a chessboard. Crack! As the old butler fiddled with the chessboard quickly, the mechanism soon closed automatically. A loud noise was heard around, and the huge stone lion slowly moved backwards, revealing a downward passage under his feet. Chapter 31 Deeply Shocked. OMG. Suddenly, the little girls were stunned. It was simply unimaginable that they could still see such a grand mechanism now. Bang! As the air rushed in, the oil lamp beside the passage suddenly lit up, making the originally dark passage much brighter. Mr. Yi, ladies, please follow me. The old butler smiled slightly, then walked towards the passage below, continuing to introduce. Ladies, you may not know that this mechanism is an underground storage room that was built when the palace was first built. It is mainly used to store valuables. To open this underground door, you need to move a special chessboard, and the method of decryption is only known to the masters and stewards of the royal palaces of all generations. The little girls were confused and asked in a baby voice, "Is this place safe? And will it be very humid?" When the old butler heard this question, he just smiled and said confidently, "Miss, don't worry. First of all, our storage room cannot be opened by ordinary people. There are also 2 traps underneath. There is no second chance to try to open it. If you fail once, the trap will be triggered, trapping the thief with ulterior motives to death here. Moreover, the whole thing below is completely sealed. Once it is closed, the mechanism will be triggered to evacuate the air here, so that the property below can be kept in the best condition. There will be no moisture." As he spoke, the old butler walked to a small door below and gently knocked on the bolt above it. The small door then opened automatically. The whole process was smooth as flowing water. It was also at this moment that air rushed into the entire space, and the oil lamp inside suddenly lit up. Ah! With the appearance of the oil lamp, the scene inside could soon be seen clearly. For a moment, the little girl opened her mouth and gasped. It's hard to imagine that behind this not-so-big door, a vast space suddenly appeared. It's so big that it's scary. In here, I suddenly felt so small, like a wisp of dust. Hey! Grandpa Butler, why is there nothing here? The girls looked at the vast space in front of them. There was nothing else but a stone platform in the center. Everyone, this is the last mechanism, please wait. Then, the old butler walked to the stone platform, on which there was a stone plate with a sky full of stars, arranged along the lines of a star map. The old butler moved a few of the stars, and then retreated in front of Yi Xian and the others. The children were all confused at this time, but what followed was a series of loud rumbling noises. Suddenly, under the little girl's incredulous gaze, the surrounding stone wall slowly slid down, revealing the scene inside. Suddenly, as the stone wall slid down, the surrounding view became wider, and the room was filled with all kinds of cultural relics, which was even more exaggerated than a museum. These cultural relics, not to mention the Tang Sankai blue and white porcelain, even the June kiln, Ru kiln, official kiln and imperial tribute can be seen everywhere. It can be said that any one of these things would be worth millions or tens of millions if released. Although nothing is too valuable, the overall value of the cultural relics here is immeasurable. However, the little girls didn't understand and just thought it looked better. Yi Xian did not even look at these so-called cultural relics, but walked straight forward. The cultural relics here are of exceptionally high quality. Not only are the cultural relics themselves placed in sealed glass cabinets, the air in this secret room is completely removed, allowing these cultural relics to be best preserved. The old butler followed Yi Xian and continued to introduce as he walked. Please continue to follow me, let's go inside and take a look. These cultural relics were collected by successive owners. Although there is nothing impressive about them, they are all treasures. As the old butler led everyone through a small path in the middle of the shelves where cultural relics were stacked, they came to a stone gate. This is the big vault. Yi Xian stopped and smiled at the girls behind him. Yi Jing, Yi Xia, Yi Shi and other girls were all looking forward to it. They all wanted to see what their father's big treasury looked like. Yi Jing looked at it more carefully at this time. He wanted to know why his father looked down on his little treasury. The old butler glanced at Yi Xian and seemed a little unsure about what to do here. Yi Xian nodded slightly, and the old butler stepped forward and opened the stone door. Bang! A muffled sound was heard, and the stone door slowly opened. Suddenly, a golden light shined through the crack in the door and shot into the eyes of the little girls. As the stone door was fully opened, a small mountain of gold bars suddenly appeared inside. Yi Xian smiled and walked inside with a few maids. Chapter 32, Just the tip of the iceberg. A lot of the underground here has been occupied by the vault, and the golden light is flashing, making it difficult for the little girl to open her eyes. At this time, the little girls paced carefully, stopping in front of the gold bars that were bright enough to reflect their surprised faces, and gently stroked them with love in their eyes. The value contained in one gold bar is limited, but when 100, 1,000, or 10,000 of them are added together, it can be called terrifying. Girls like Yi Jing opened their mouths into an O shape at this time, and then ran happily in the big vault, feeling the shock of the piled-up gold mountain. But they were still children after all. After taking a look around, the girls understood what their father's big treasury looked like. But for a moment, they no longer had much interest and instead all gathered in Yi Xian's arms. "Dad, we're hungry." Yi Xian looked down at the pitiful appearance of the three girls, a smile appearing at the corner of his mouth. "Okay, we'll go upstairs now and we'll be able to eat soon." Soon, several people left the vault and soon came to an elegant restaurant upstairs. Other parents and Chen Jing were also waiting here. Yi Xian was sitting in the middle at this time, several girls were sitting next to him, and other parents were also sitting with their children. When they brought Yi Xian back, they all had respectful looks on their faces. Soon, one exquisite dish after another was served on the wide rosewood table, and immediately a fragrant aroma filled the air all the way to the soul. At this time, on the table, things like roasted deer tendons, Buddha jumps over the wall, boiled cabbage and wanfu meat were all neatly placed. Wow! It smells so good. These dishes look so good. People looked at the dishes on the table and couldn't help swallowing their saliva and rubbing their hands, their eyes full of anticipation. The chefs here are from the palace, and the dishes are prepared according to the highest standards of palace cuisine. Everyone, don't just stand there, come and try some. Yi Xian's light words almost made these parents lose their chopsticks and they all gasped. So delicious. Yi Jing and the other maids couldn't hold back any longer and started to wolf down the delicacies on the table. Yi Xian, on the other hand, smiled and kept picking up food for the maids. The other parents were no longer polite at this point. They brought their children, picked up their bowls and chopsticks, and started eating big bites of duoshu. Lunchtime passed like this again. In the afternoon, everyone went to visit other places in the palace, and soon it was evening. At this time, Yi Xian saw that Yi Xia and Yi Shi were both dozing off. Then he remembered that they had been traveling a lot last night and should be tired today as well. He looked at everyone. "Everyone, it's getting late today, let's just stop here." When the parents heard this, they stopped and although they were a little reluctant, they immediately responded. "Okay, thank you Mr. Yi for your hospitality." Afterwards, the parents got in the car and headed towards the hotel, ready to rest. After arriving at the hotel, the parents rested in the lounge area while the children happily discussed what they had seen and heard in Ningjiang Palace that day. "We are so happy today. We actually entered the Ningjiang Palace and took a long walk around. Hee, and the lunch we had was so delicious. I've never eaten anything so delicious. Where do you think the most beautiful part of the palace is? I think it's the elegant garden and the rockery waterfall." The bosses on the other side also had smiles on their faces as they listened to what the children said. Oh, children really do speak without restraint. I'm afraid we have arrived at some other place and mistakenly thought we were at the Ningjiang Palace. A CEO took a sip of coffee and said to the other CEOs with a smile. Yes. It's not that easy to get into the Ningjiang Palace. It's almost impossible to get in. Oh, by the way, I heard that the Ningjiang Palace was hereditary in the past. Even during the most turbulent years in China, it was not destroyed at all. I've heard of this too. No matter who comes here, they have to give way to others. But later on, it seems that a mysterious big boss bought it. The several bosses talked about this and began to discuss the matters concerning the Ningjiang Palace. Last time, a few of us wanted to visit, but we almost got beaten up just by looking at it from the outside. Of course not. This is the Ningjiang Palace now. Please do not disturb us. If they look down on you, it will be useless no matter who comes. At this point, one of the CEOs slapped his thigh and said with emotion. I went there alone last time. You may not know this, but I almost got beaten up just because I wanted to go in and take a look. The guards there are not vegetarians at all. Besides, there are many vicious dogs there. I was almost scared to death just by hearing the barking of those vicious dogs. As the boss spoke, his eyes became a little dazed and he sighed. Alas, I wonder what kind of boss can own such a palace. And they don't even come to live here. Tell me, this is simply too extravagant. The others listened and nodded continuously, with horror in their eyes. There must be a huge force behind this big guy. After all, during the most turbulent times, this place was not destroyed at all. I heard that when the bandits came here, they took a detour. As for the dignitaries at that time, they were even more polite to this place. Chapter 33. Is this you? At this point, several CEOs were shocked. They were already in the upper class in Jinling, but compared with others, they were still nothing. A slightly older boss smiled calmly, but still couldn't help shaking his head. Alas! The owner at that time was able to possess such great power. Now that it has been bought, the identity of the buyer must be extraordinary. The other people also nodded heavily, with many expressions in their eyes, including curiosity, admiration, and more of shock. Indeed, it might not have been bought, but given to him by the owner of the palace. I agree. There are many people who can afford to buy this palace, but whether they want to sell it or not is another matter. I think there is another possibility. Do you think the current owner is a descendant of the royal family? For a moment, all the bosses began to be curious about the identity of the owner of Ningjiang Palace, but at this time, the children next to them were still talking incessantly. Look, these photos are so beautiful. I'll ask my dad to print them out and hang them on the wall at home. I think this is something we can brag about for a long time. Yeah, it seems that not many people have been to this Ningjiang Palace. Of course not, we are the first to try it. As the children's voices in discussion gradually grew louder, several bosses nearby became somewhat restless. One of the bosses waved to the children and spoke in a gentle tone. Children, come here. Those kids were pretty nice too, they came over right away, still watching the group photo on their phones. Uncle, what's the matter? Several pairs of big eyes stared at the CEOs. The CEOs smiled helplessly and said, Children, you are not going to Ningjiang Palace, right? Is it somewhere else? When the children heard this, they immediately became dissatisfied, and their mouths were puffed with anger. Uncle, look at the photo. One of the children simply flipped through the photos and handed the phone to the bosses. A CEO took it suspiciously, and several other CEOs around him came over to watch. The bosses looked at the gate outside and sat up straighter. Just looking at the gate, this really is the Ningjiang Palace. But after flipping through the pages, the bosses suddenly lost their composure. The luxurious and wealthy scenery inside was completely beyond their imagination. Their eyes widened, and they looked at each other and swallowed unconsciously. Oh my God! But when they turned the page again, everyone trembled immediately. Yi, Mr. Yi! One of the CEOs exclaimed, took a closer look, and his mouth twitched slightly. The person taking a photo with the children was actually Mr. Yi. For a moment, several CEOs were stunned, staring at the photo with wide eyes. Their brains felt like they were struck by a thunderclap. These uncles are so weird. A child pouted and shook his head helplessly. After getting his phone back, he went back with his friends. All these bosses were standing there in a daze at this moment, like living sculptures, and they didn't even realize that their cell phones had been taken away by the children. The children went to check in with their parents. They were all very happy today. Now, only a group of bosses were left standing there in a daze. After a long time, they slowly came to their senses and said something in a daze. Ningjiang Palace is actually owned by Mr. Yi. After everyone left, Yi Xian took Yi Jing, Zhou Xiaodan, and the two newly arrived girls, Yi Xia and Yi Shi, back home together. Chen Jing said goodbye to everyone and returned to her own house. As soon as they entered Villa Number 1, Yi Xia and Yi Shi were inevitably a little stunned for a moment. No matter how to say it, the luxury of this villa has completely exceeded their imagination. Wow! This can't be a castle. Yi Xia blinked his big eyes and excitedly walked back and forth in the huge living room for several times, with a hint of shock in his eyes. The girl Yi Shi looked around timidly, pulling at Yi Jing's sleeve, and seemed a little nervous. However, this is normal for Yi Shi's personality. After all, this is the first time she has seen her biological father and the first time she has come to her father's home. If Yi Shi had no reaction to this, it would be a bit abnormal. Jingjing, Xiaodan, take Xiaoxia and Cici for a walk. I'll go cook for you. Yi Xian looked at the girls with a smile, and began to imagine what the scene would be like here when her daughters came back. The two girls, Yi Jing and Zhou Xiaodan, nodded obediently, and smiled as they pulled Yi Xia and Yi Shi towards the villa, introducing them as they walked. Xiaoxia, Cici, this is also our home, don't feel strange about it, although I felt the same way at first. Yi Jing, the eldest sister, was very considerate. Seeing that her two younger sisters seemed to be a little uncomfortable here, she hugged them and comforted them. Talking about her past self, Yi Jing smiled awkwardly, then pointed to the rooms around her and introduced them. Go through here and you'll reach the kitchen. Dad always makes delicious food for us in here. That's the garden over there. The scenery inside is like a paradise. It's so beautiful that it's hard to describe. After going upstairs from here, the upstairs is the bedroom. We all sleep up there. Yi Xia and Yi Shi followed Yi Jing and Zhou Xiaodan on a tour and found that the villa was much bigger than they had imagined. Hey! What is this? While walking around, Yi Xia glanced and suddenly saw a conspicuous portrait on the wall. The frame it was mounted in was incredibly exquisite. What shocked her even more was that the girl in the painting was actually her own sister Yi Jing. Sister, this picture is of you. Yi Shi also saw the painting at this time and covered her mouth in surprise. Sister, you are so cute. You are even cuter in the painting than you are now. Yi Xia and Yi Shi looked at the painting with great interest, and then looked at Yi Jing curiously. Sister, who drew this for you? It's so amazing. Yi Jing looked at the two girls' longing eyes and smiled. Although she didn't say anything, her eyes unconsciously looked towards the kitchen. Yi Xia understood instantly and opened his mouth in disbelief. Chapter 34 All Diamonds. Sister, are you saying that this picture was drawn by Dad for you? Zhou Xiaodan stood aside and nodded with a smile without waiting for Yi Jing to speak. Yes, this painting was drawn by Uncle Yi. Dad is so awesome. Yi Shi spoke softly, her eyes full of admiration. If we have the chance in the future, we will also ask our dad to draw one for us. Yi Xia looked at the portrait with great enthusiasm, as if he could already see his own portrait placed next to Yi Jing's portrait. Why don't we take pictures? Just when Yi Xia was getting excited, Yi Shi beside him said something weakly. Ah, this. Yi Xia and Yi Jing looked at each other and felt that this seemed to make sense. While the maids were walking around the villa, Yi Xian had finished cooking. He took out a handkerchief to wipe his hands, then walked out of the kitchen. As soon as he came out, Yi Xian saw several girls running around in the room, and their cute and crisp laughter echoed in the spacious villa. These girls. Yi Xian looked at the girls who were giggling and making noises, a warm smile appeared on the corner of his mouth, and he looked at the girls lovingly. At this time, several maids came to a small antique table, on which was placed a blue and white porcelain vase with the image of Guguzi descending the mountain. Yi Xia moved closer to the blue and white porcelain vase, opened his eyes wide, and admired it seriously. This bottle is so exquisite. The other girls were similar to Yi Xia at this time, standing on tiptoe, their eyes all focused on the blue and white porcelain vase in front of them. Yi Xian looked at the careful looks of the girls and walked up with a smile. This bottle is a blue and white porcelain bottle. The pattern on it records the scene of Guguzi descending the mountain. There is really only one such thing in the world. After hearing Yi Xian's explanation, the little girls looked at the blue and white porcelain vase even more carefully, and it could be said that there was no deviation at all. Yi Xian looked at the girls' attentive expressions and immediately found it interesting. He thought they were interested in porcelain, so he continued. Girls, this porcelain is a great product of our Chinese civilization. From the earliest earthen kilns to the various exquisite porcelains later on, the craftsmanship has been constantly improving. But now, there are a lot of fake and inferior porcelains out there. You must carefully identify them. As for the techniques of porcelain identification, they are more complicated. When I first get a piece of porcelain, my habit is to check the bottom first. First, there is a mark on the bottom. And most importantly, the bottom is the place with the most contact and wear, so there will definitely be many marks left. And we need to look at the glaze and the surface of the porcelain. Yi Xian was talking incessantly, and the girls were listening very seriously at first, but later on, they became more and more confused, and simply ran forward. Seeing this scene, Yi Xian suddenly fell silent, with the corners of his mouth twitching slightly. As expected, the child was not very interested in these things. Okay, time to eat. Seeing the girls rejoicing in the room, Yi Xian smiled bitterly and shook his head, and had no choice but to walk towards the girls' position. After a while, Yi Xian held one in each hand, hugged one in front, and carried one on his back, and he pulled the four girls back by himself. Okay, be honest, it's time for us to eat. Yi Xian gently placed the girls on the stools. In front of them was a set of exquisite and lovely tableware. On the table, there were several delicious dishes. As soon as the maids sat down and smelled the fragrance, they immediately became energetic. Wow! It smells so good. Yi Xia's eyes suddenly lit up, and as he looked at Yi Xian's smiling face, the admiration on his face became more and more intense. My father is not only good at taking care of people, but he can also draw and cook. He is simply an all-rounder. Hurry up and eat. After dinner, take a rest and then go take a shower and go to bed. Yi Xian gently rubbed the heads of Yi Xia and Yi Shi, and said lovingly. You two girls must be tired from the train ride. You should eat more today to replenish your nutrition. Yi Xia and Yi Shi nodded, drooling at the dishes on the table. It's delicious. Better than what my mom makes. After taking a bite, Yi Xia and Yi Shi closed their eyes for a moment, feeling the wonderful taste of the food in their mouths. They were already surprised that their father could cook, but they didn't expect that his cooking skills had reached such a level. Dad, your cooking skills are really good. It tastes better than the food we had at noon. While Yi Xia was eating voraciously, he gave Yi Xian a thumbs up. Xiao Xia, eat slowly, this will hurt your stomach. Yi Xian was giving instructions while constantly putting food into the bowls of the maids. After a while, after finishing their meal, Tang Hao also came over, holding an extremely exquisite small box in his hand. Brother Yi, this is sent by your Cartier group. It is said that this time, it is a new diamond discovered in South Africa. Please take a look. Tang Hao walked up to Yi Xian, bent over and handed the box to Yi Xian. Yi Xian nodded, took the box and placed it on the table in front of him. A few little girls sat aside, looking at this exquisite black box, their eyes full of curiosity. The appearance of the box is very design-oriented, with precious cowhide on both sides, and the patterns on it make the hand feel unique and warm. Bang! As Yi Xian fiddled with the combination lock on the box opened with a crisp sound. Suddenly, Yi Xian opened the box, and inside lay several large diamonds sparkling with dazzling light. Yi Xian looked at the size of the diamond and nodded with satisfaction. Judging from the size and clarity of these diamonds, the value of each one is probably hundreds of millions. However, no matter how valuable these diamonds were, Yi Xian didn't care much. Instead, these girls were looking at them with great interest. Dad, this stone is so beautiful. Ah! It even reflects light. It's so beautiful. Yi Xian looked at the girl's eyes fixed on the diamond without any deviation, and he felt happy in his heart. Just by looking at the looks of these girls, one can tell that women's love for diamonds is probably innate. These stones are called diamonds. They are made of the same ingredients as the lead in your pencils, which are all carbon. Yi Xian originally wanted to continue explaining the differences between the carbon in pencils and diamonds, but thinking that the girls would be confused, he stopped talking. But at this moment, the girls seemed not to hear Yi Xian's words. Their little mouths were slightly open, looking at the diamonds with love in their eyes. Chapter 35. If you like it, take it and play with it. If you like it, take it and play with it. Yi Xian smiled helplessly. When the girls heard this, they immediately became excited. Dad! Really? Facing the girls' watery eyes, Yi Xian nodded lovingly. Of course, you can take it and play with it whenever you want. Yeah. Yi Jing was the first to come to the pile of diamonds, picking them out one by one and taking out one that was of a suitable size. But after gritting her teeth, Yi Jing seemed to think that it was still a little big, so she picked out a slightly smaller one. Zhou Xiaodan and Yi Xia each picked out a small one and held them carefully in their hands. Yi Shi was the last one to choose. Seeing that Yi Jing and the others all took small ones, she did not dare to take the biggest one and timidly picked up a small diamond. Girl, here's this. Yi Xian smiled and took out the largest one and handed it to Yi Shi. Holding the dazzling big diamond in her hand, Yi Shi looked at Yi Xian somewhat flattered, bit her lip lightly, and thanked him implicitly. Thank you, Dad. Yi Jing and the other girls also held the diamonds in their hands as if they were treasures. They looked at Yi Xian with silly smiles and said sweetly. He. Thank you, Dad. Looking at the happy faces of the girls, Yi Xian smiled and nodded. As long as you like it. Afterwards, Yi Xian looked at the time and it was quite late, so he closed the box, threw it aside, and said to the maids. Okay, go take a shower and go to bed, it's getting late now. Good. The maids agreed obediently, then walked towards the washroom hand in hand. At night, Yi Xian was surrounded by the little girls. He stared blankly at the ceiling with a hint of tired happiness in his eyes. Yi Xia and Yi Jing hugged Yi Xian tightly. Even though they fell asleep, their little hands could not be loosened at all. Yi Shi was lying on Yi Xian's chest, sleeping soundly with even breathing. As for the girl Zhou Xiaodan, she directly occupied most of the remaining half of the bed and slept particularly soundly. One night, Yi Xian once again had a sleepless night. The next morning, after Yi Xian and a few girls finished their meal, they sat on the sofa and watched TV. Ding ding ding. At this time, Chen Jing called. Yi Xian took a look and answered the call. Mr. Yi, there is a cultural relic exchange meeting here. Why don't you take advantage of the holiday and bring your children to play together? Yi Xian paused and said with a smile. I won't go. You guys go ahead. I'll send the girls over later. Good. After hanging up the phone, Yi Xian looked at the girls. Girls, Aunt Chen Jing is having a cultural relic exchange meeting. Do you want to go over and have some fun? The girls were stunned at first, but then when they heard that they could go out and play, they all jumped up and down excitedly. Okay. We all want to go. Well, that's fine. You guys go ahead. Dad won't go today. Aunt Chen Jing will take you. Yi Xian looked at the girls' admiring eyes, nodded with a smile, and called Tang Hao over. Tang Hao, send these girls over to play later. I won't go. Okay, Brother Yi. Tang Hao nodded, and after a few maids tidied up for a while, they walked out of the villa gate and got into the Rolls-Royce. In the car, Tang Hao was also driving. Yi Jing was sitting in the passenger seat. Suddenly, she looked at Tang Hao beside her. Uncle Tang, what kind of person is my father? Although Yi Jing has confirmed that her father truly loves them, she is still somewhat curious about her father's identity. In their eyes, their father can cook, draw, and do everything. He is like an omnipotent Superman. When Yi Jing asked this question, several girls, including Zhou Xiaodan, looked at Tang Hao curiously. Tang Hao smiled, took a deep breath, and spoke to the girls. Your father is a very powerful man. As for the rest, I won't tell you for now. When the time is right, you will know it naturally. The girls sat obediently in the car seats. When they heard Tang Hao say this, they stopped asking questions. After a while, Tang Hao escorted the maids to their destination and gave them instructions. When you've had enough fun, just call me and I'll come pick you up. Okay. Thank you, Uncle Tang Hao. Yi Jing and the other girls smiled and nodded, then got out of the car hand in hand. Chen Jing, who had been waiting outside for a long time, saw the figures of several girls and walked towards them quickly. Aunt Chen Jing. Several girls surrounded Chen Jing, pulled her clothes, and looked inside the venue excitedly. Aunt Chen Jing, when are we going in? Yi Xia asked first. Now that he was here, he couldn't wait any longer. Okay, we still have to wait for another auntie. When this auntie arrives, we will go in right away. So Chen Jing stood aside with a few girls and waited. After a while, a very beautiful girl wearing high heels came over here. Zhou Xin. We are here. Zhou Xin heard the voice and looked over here. The first person he saw was Chen Jing and the few little girls around Chen Jing. Chen Jing. Zhou Xin paused for a moment, then quickly came up to the few people. Oh, Chen Jing. Look at you now, you're almost becoming the leader of the kids. Chen Jing patted Zhou Xian's shoulder gently and said with a smile. I just like these kids. Zhou Xian also squatted down and pinched the little faces of several girls. Little ones, just call me Auntie Zhou. Hello, Aunt Zhou. The girls smiled sweetly, and the more Zhou Xian looked at the girls, the more he liked them. He excitedly went to the side to buy a few strings of candied haws, and then ran back to the girls. Girls, give it to me. Thank you, Auntie Zhou. Several maids thanked Zhou Xian, and each of them held a string of candied haws, looking so beautiful. Okay, let's go in. Chen Jing smiled and pointed ahead, then walked inside with Zhou Xian and a few maids. At this time, the venue was already crowded with people, some were chatting, some were sightseeing, it looked very lively. There were quite a few cultural relics on the display stands at this time, and some staff members were standing next to the display stands, introducing these cultural relics with a smile. There are many stalls around, and there are also a lot of people gathered there, even more than at the exhibition stands. Chapter 36, The King of Children. As soon as Chen Jing, Zhou Xian, and a few little girls came in, they saw a stall selling antiques nearby. They immediately became interested and pulled Chen Jing and the girls over. Chen Jing shook her head helplessly, and the girls were also very interested. They looked at the various antiques, calligraphy and paintings on the surrounding stalls with their little eyes full of curiosity. Zhou Xian and his group walked around the stalls and suddenly saw an exquisite porcelain vase on one of the stalls. Ha! Zhou Xian suddenly exclaimed, stopped, picked up the porcelain bottle and looked at it carefully. "Oh, young lady. You have good taste. This porcelain vase is an heirloom from my ancestors. It is a fine product from the imperial kilns of the Tang dynasty, and was specially presented as a tribute to the imperial court at that time. Look at this glaze, this craftsmanship, and this patina. Anyone who knows the product can tell the difference at a glance." The boss, who had a big gold tooth, saw Zhou Xian looking at the porcelain vase carefully. He thought to himself that business was coming, and he started chatting nonsense about the porcelain vase. Zhou Xian was stunned by what the boss said. He looked at the porcelain vase and asked casually, "Boss, how much do you want for this porcelain vase?" The boss chuckled and gave 5 thumbs up. "Miss, this is a good thing. I see you really want it. How about this? I bought it for 480,000 yuan. Please let me make a little profit. How about 500,000 yuan? If you like, take it." When Zhou Xian heard the number, his brows slightly frowned, but soon relaxed. He thought it was a joke and continued speaking. "Boss, stop joking. I really want this. Can you give me a real price?" Hearing this, the boss's expression showed a trace of helplessness and hesitation, but if you look closely at his eyes, you can tell that this guy is extremely happy at this moment. "I told you, young lady, you know what's good. Well, let me give you another 50,000, so 450,000 will be enough." "Are you serious?" Zhou Xian was stunned for a moment. He thought it was a joke just now, but now looking at the boss's expression, he looked like he had suffered a great loss. Not only Zhou Xian, but also Chen Jing and a few little girls were stunned. "That's a lot. The weekly allowance mom gave us was only a few hundred yuan." As she spoke, Yi Xia took a closer look. Although the vase was exquisite, she still felt that something was not right. This porcelain bottle seems to be fake. When the boss heard this, he immediately became unhappy and asked back in a bad mood, "You little brat, what do you know? How dare you say this is fake?" Yi Xia looked at the boss's expression and felt unconvinced, so he spoke angrily. "Humph. My father taught me this. There is a method to identify porcelain." The boss listened to this with a look of disdain, not taking the little girl in front of him seriously at all. When people around saw this scene, they realized that a little girl was actually competing with the boss here. At once, everyone around came over, and Yi Xia, the girl, looked at the porcelain bottle and continued. "Uncle, to identify porcelain, you should first look at the bottom to see if there is a mark, so as to tell whether it is old or a replica, and also see if there are any signs of use. Besides, the old porcelain feels as smooth as jade to the touch, and you." Yi Xia didn't continue talking here, but stroked it gently. "Uncle, why does this porcelain vase of yours feel a little sticky when I touch it?" Having said this, many people around looked at Yi Xia and were suddenly surprised. After listening to Yi Xia's analysis, everyone felt that it made sense. They gave Yi Xia a thumbs up and couldn't help but praise him. "This girl is amazing. Yes, at such a young age, he has superb skills. Little girl, I'm optimistic about you. You're so amazing. You have a bright future ahead of you." The boss's face was blue and purple at this time, but he heard the little girl Yi Xia continue to say, "Also, I remember my father said that if this thing is a replica, there should be traces of lathe processing on it." Zhou Xian was suddenly stunned at this moment. After hearing these words, he looked at the porcelain bottle more carefully. After searching carefully, as expected, when the bottle was exposed to natural light, Zhou Xian instantly saw the marks on it. Afterwards, Zhou Xian put the porcelain bottle back without thinking twice. The boss also scratched his head awkwardly and smiled at Yi Xia. "Little sister, you really know a lot. It's true that there are always people who are better than you. Today, I was really taught a lesson by you, little girl." When Yi Xia heard this, he seemed to be encouraged. He looked at the boss excitedly, blinked his big eyes, and said excitedly, "Oh, now I remember, my father also told me other identification methods, such as this jade." Suddenly, the boss standing aside, seeing that the little girl Yi Xia was interested again, hurriedly took out 200 yuan and handed it to Yi Xia. "Little sister, take this money and buy some snacks. Uncle still needs to do business here. Uncle will never make random offers again in the future. Definitely not. Please be magnanimous and let me off the hook." Zhou Xian and Sun Yi, who were standing by, saw this scene clearly. They were so happy that a smile appeared on their faces. They didn't expect that the stall owner had no idea how to deal with these little girls. Yi Xia was not polite either. She took the money handed over by the boss and looked at Chen Jing and the others with a smile. Let's go eat something delicious. Chen Jing rubbed Yi Xia's head and said with a smile. Xiao Xia, you are so amazing. Even Yi Jing and Yi Shi nodded in agreement. Yi Xian had also told them these things yesterday, but they didn't remember anything. Come on, let's go together. A few girls skipped and jumped to the side and bought some snacks. Their bags were full and their mouths and hands were busy. At this time, everyone saw a jewelry store on the other side. Zhou Xian suddenly became interested and looked at Chen Jing and several girls. Let's go and take a look. Chen Jing first looked at the jewelry store and then looked at Zhou Xian with an extremely suspicious look. Wait, why are you going to see this? Wouldn't it be nice to wait for your boyfriend to give it to you in the future? Before Zhou Xian could say anything, Chen Jing stabbed him again. Wait, you don't seem to have a boyfriend. Chapter 37 Big Diamond. For a moment, the air was a little solemn. Zhou Xian's mouth twitched slightly and he glared at Chen Jing fiercely. Yes, I don't have a boyfriend, but there shouldn't be a rule that you can't go in if you don't have a boyfriend, right? Zhou Xian said unhappily, but only he knew that that sentence had already caused quite a blow to him. Okay, then you can go in, but the things in here are not cheap. Chen Jing gently poked Zhou Xian's shoulder and a smile appeared on the corner of her mouth. Could it be that you have become a wealthy woman without telling me? Where is it? Zhou Xian looked at Chen Jing with disdain and said weakly. Can I go in and take a look even if I don't want to buy anything? After playing around for a while, the two walked all the way to the door of the jewelry store and went in with the four little girls. As soon as they entered the jewelry store, the four little ones were stunned for a moment when they saw the dazzling array of jewelry inside. Call! Several girls held their breath, then ran away, leaned over the display cabinet, and looked at the various kinds of jewelry inside. These girls are so cute. The shopping guide nearby was also happy when he saw this scene. It seems that these things are very attractive to girls of any age. Because there is a cultural relics exhibition going on nearby, there are almost no customers here now. The shopping guide looked at the cute girls and since there were not many customers anyway, he simply followed them, introducing things as he walked. Chen Jing and Zhou Xian felt relieved when they saw that some girls were following them. They walked slowly between the counters, arm in arm. As they walked, they saw a counter full of diamond rings. A diamond ring. Let's go take a look. When Zhou Xian saw the diamond ring, his eyes suddenly lit up and he pulled Chen Jing and trotted over. Girl, what are you in such a hurry for? Are you in a hurry to get married? Chen Jing looked at the diamond rings, then at Zhou Xian's motherly smile, and asked with amusement. Of course I'm not in a hurry, but I wonder if you are in a hurry. While looking at the diamond ring, Zhou Xian did not forget to retort. But seriously, how big a diamond ring do you want when you get married? Chen Jing looked at these diamond rings of different sizes and suddenly asked Zhou Xian. Well, as long as it's not 1 carat, it'll be fine. I feel a little chilly when I wear this. Hearing Zhou Xian say this, Chen Jing immediately laughed and said ouch. Oh, Miss Zhou Xian, you can't just take home a 1 carat diamond, right? Zhou Xian was speechless for a moment, she said lightly with a pout. Humph. You make me sound like I'm multi-material. As she spoke, Zhou Xian's eyes became much gentler as she looked at the sparkling diamond ring in front of her. But no matter which woman she is, she always hopes to have a dazzling diamond ring and have the man she is willing to entrust her life to wear it on her. Good fellow. Chen Jing stuck out her tongue. This girl, just by shopping in a store, gained some insights into life. Ladies, do you need to buy diamond rings? At this time, a shopping guide nearby saw Zhou Xian and Chen Jing standing here for a long time, and walked over with a smile. The diamonds we have here are all very good. Whether in terms of clarity or luster, we have selected the best on the market. Among diamonds of the same price, the cost performance can be said to be the highest. Chen Jing and Zhou Xian smiled and nodded, speaking politely. It's okay, we're just looking at it. If we want to buy it, we have to ask our future boyfriend to buy it for us. When the shopping guide heard this, she smiled slightly and instantly understood what Zhou Xian meant. Okay, ladies, you can call us anytime if you need anything. After saying that, the shopping guide stopped bothering me and walked away. A few little girls, who had almost finished their stroll, also walked over here. Aunt Chen Jing, Aunt Zhou Xian, what are you looking at? Look at the diamonds. Oh. A few little ones said oh and looked at the diamond ring on the counter. Yi Jing said something. Hey! The stones here are so small. The other girls looked on and nodded in empathy. Small. When Zhou Xian heard this, he was immediately happy. He rubbed Yi Jing's head and said with a smile. I really can't tell, you little girl, you may not be that old, but you have such a broad vision. As she spoke, Zhou Xian looked at the sparkling diamond ring inside and continued talking to the girls. Little girl, do you know what this is? This is a diamond. Just a diamond that big could buy a cart of lollipops. As Zhou Xian spoke, he gestured and converted the unit of value from money into lollipops. After all, these little girls have no concept of money, so it might be a little better to say this. Really? Several little girls gasped in shock. This shocked them completely. It's so expensive for something so small, then my dad gave me a stone similar to this one. As she spoke, Xiaoxi took out a big diamond from her small purse. Under the light, it was dazzling and fascinating. For a moment, everyone was stunned, staring at the big diamond, and suddenly didn't know what to say. The shopping guide and Zhou Xian were stunned for a moment, and then they laughed. Xiaoxi, your dad bought this from a street stall to amuse you guys, right? Zhou Xian smiled somewhat disapprovingly. If this big thing was true, it would be outrageous. The shopping guide thought of this as a child's toy and didn't think of it as a real thing at all. Only Chen Jing looked at the diamond and felt that it seemed strange no matter how she looked at it. She had a very bad premonition in her heart. Is this what your father gave you? Chen Jing looked at Yi Shi with a bit of seriousness. Before Yi Shi could answer, several little girls beside her nodded. Yes, Aunt Chen Jing, Dad said this thing is not valuable, and asked us to take it and play with it if we like it. So that is how it is. Chen Jing heaved a sigh of relief after hearing the girls say this. But then, a few little girls said something that made Chen Jing's heart, which had just relaxed, become anxious again. Well, Dad said that this stuff is similar to the composition of our pencil leads, no wonder it's worthless. As soon as these words came out, everyone was stunned, and their eyes were immediately focused on the big diamond. Ah, this. The shopping guide stood aside, sweat already breaking out on her head. For some reason, even she herself was unsure whether this thing was real or fake. Chapter 38 A Good Lesson. At this time, at the door of the jewelry store, the boss and several jewelry appraisal masters from their chain store came over, talking and laughing. When they reached the door, the boss stepped forward and opened it, then smiled respectfully at the jewelry appraisal masters who followed behind him. Teachers, please come in. The boss knew very well that the identities of these masters were enough to shock the entire jewelry industry, and their weight was much greater than that of himself, a so-called jewelry chain store owner. Fang Hong, who was in the lead, waved his hand and nodded to the boss. Thank you, boss. You're welcome. Several people came in, and Boss Xia walked beside a few masters, chatting as he walked inside. But at this time, everyone heard a noisy sound coming from the other side. Boss Xia was afraid of disturbing these masters, so he hurriedly walked towards the direction where the sound came from. Several masters also followed and suddenly saw Xiaoxi holding up her little hand, still holding the sparkling big diamond. OMG! For a moment, several masters were all stunned, and then they walked up quickly. Looking at this diamond, the masters who had originally had expressionless faces became as colorful as they could be. Boss, you're here. When the shopping guide saw the boss coming, he greeted him politely. Well, come here for a moment. The boss pulled the shopping guide aside and asked softly. What's going on? The shopping guide was stunned at first, and then he told the whole story. Boss, this is what happened. These customers originally came to see diamonds, and this little girl suddenly took out this huge diamond. I don't know if it's real or fake. The matter was not too complicated and the boss soon understood the cause and effect of the incident. But when he looked over there, he saw an incredible scene. The master's eyes were fixed on the diamond in Xiaoxi's hand at this moment, staring at it intently, their gazes unmoved at all. Fang Hong, who was in the lead, looked at Xiaoxi with a smile and said kindly. Little girl, can you show me your diamond? Diamond. After hearing Fang Hong's words, the people around were stunned for a moment, and then burst into exclamations. Is this true? Chen Jing slapped herself on the head. She knew that since it was given by Yi Xian, how could it be a fake? The boss who was talking to the shopping guide just now couldn't keep calm when he saw this scene. He walked quickly to Fang Hong and asked respectfully. Master Fang Hong, is this really a diamond? As for the boss himself, Since he is the owner of several chain stores, he is considered a big shot in this circle. After all these years of hard work, I have never seen such a big diamond with my own eyes. Yes, this is indeed a diamond. Fong Hong took a deep breath and nodded to everyone. Afterwards, Fong Hong and the masters behind him once again looked at Xiao Shi, who was holding the diamond. Girl, how is it? Can you show it to me? Xiao Shi saw that a lot of people gathered around her and she immediately hugged the diamond tightly in her arms. No, this is something my father gave me. Even though it's not valuable, you can't give it to outsiders. Not worth it. When Fong Hong heard this, the corners of his mouth twitched slightly, and he thought to himself that if this thing was not valuable, then there would be nothing valuable in the world. The masters behind him couldn't help but sweat. Who on earth is this father? Not only did he not tell his child about this kind of thing, but the child actually said it was worthless. Little sister, Grandpa begs you, please let me see it. I will only take a look, I won't let you take it away. Seeing that Yi Shi disagreed, Fong Hong squatted down and stared at Yi Shi in front of him pitifully, almost begging. You promise not to take my things? Fong Hong looked at Yi Shi's somewhat worried eyes and nodded heavily. Girl, I swear, I'm just taking a look and I won't have any bad intentions. All right. Yi Shi then nodded slightly and looked at Fong Hong. But I want to hold it. As she spoke, Yi Shi placed the diamond that was originally in her arms in her little hand and presented it in front of Fong Hong. Ha ha ha. Good kid, it's okay. Fong Hong was delighted and immediately worked with several jewelry appraisers behind him to identify the diamond. After getting close to the diamond, even the knowledgeable Fong Hong couldn't help but tremble in his heart. This diamond is absolutely genuine and not fake at all. Moreover, this diamond is not only big, but its clarity and color are also top-notch. And the cut is simply perfect, and the color grade has reached the top D color. Hiss. All the appraisal masters gasped when they saw the big diamond in front of them. This is a top-quality product. This one alone is worth nearly 1 billion. Fong Hong stood up slowly, his face suddenly froze. It is so rare to be able to maintain such quality at such a size. When other people heard this, whether it was Chen Jing, Zhou Xian, or the boss and the shopping guide beside them, they were all dumbfounded. 1 billion. Chen Jing suddenly felt her brain go dark. She simply couldn't understand why Yi Xian would just give such an expensive thing to a few children to play with. Mom! Zhou Xian was also stunned at this time. He felt his brain was buzzing and his three views were about to collapse. The boss and the shopping guide standing by felt their heartbeats suddenly speed up. What on earth was going on? A little girl casually took out a diamond worth 1 billion? Alas, diamonds like this are so rare. I rarely see them either. Fong Hong shook his head and said in a serious tone. The sisters have this too. When Xiao Shi heard Fong Hong's words, she raised her little head and spoke innocently. Yi Xia and his friends also took out a few diamonds of their own. Fong Hong suddenly felt like he was slapped hard on the face. He looked at the other girls and saw that the things in their hands were slightly smaller, but definitely not much smaller. They were also the best of the best. The appraisal masters behind him almost shuddered and collapsed to the ground, their mouths twitching as they stared at the diamonds in the girls' hands. Chen Jing looked at the people at the scene and thought that wealth should not be shown to others, so she quickly pulled a few girls and walked outside. Hurry up! Chen Jing looked at Zhou Xian, who was still standing there stupidly, so she quickly pulled her away. Fong Hong and other treasure appraisers looked at the backs of Chen Jing, Zhou Xian, and several girls as they left, with deep shock still on their faces. It's really incredible. These girls have taught us a good lesson. Chapter 39 Play with you. These diamonds are so precious. I guarantee that if they were put up for auction, their value would be even higher. Hiss. I just don't know where this diamond came from. I've never seen it before. The masters were all discussing one after another, and Fong Hong looked towards the door and said with some concern. Let's go out and take a look. These people are all women and children. Take these things out. Fong Hong walked straight outside while he was talking. After hearing Fong Hong's words, the other masters also reacted and hurriedly followed Fong Hong outside. A group of masters came to the door in a mighty manner. Chen Jing and others were still standing at the door, as if waiting for something. Suddenly, a car horn sounded. People nearby looked in the direction of the sound and saw Tang Hao driving a Rolls-Royce Phantom Extended Edition towards them. Soon, under the surprised gazes of the masters, the Rolls-Royce stopped directly next to Chen Jing and others. What is going on? Zhou Xian was startled suddenly, looking at the Rolls-Royce stopped in front of him, and looked at Chen Jing beside him with some confusion. The masters behind him were even more surprised, but they were soon relieved. It doesn't seem strange that everyone has a big diamond and is picked up by a Rolls-Royce. This is the car of Yi Jing and the other girl's father. Chen Jing smiled bitterly inside. The window of the Rolls-Royce opened and Tang Hao smiled at Chen Jing and Zhou Xian. Miss Chen, Brother Yi invites you to have dinner together. What do you two ladies think? Zhou Xian glanced at Chen Jing, and Chen Jing nodded at Tang Hao. Well, that's troublesome. Tang Hao waved his hand gently and said calmly. It's okay, Miss Chen, please get in the car. Girls, hurry up and come up too. Good. The girls nodded obediently and got into the car one by one. Zhou Xian was pulled up by Chen Jing and finally climbed up. Soon, as the vehicle moved slowly, it arrived at the villa. Home. The little girls jumped out of the car, holding a lot of snacks that they had not finished eating, which they were going to leave for Yi Xian. Zhou Xian's eyes were still dull. Chen Jing shook her head and shook her shoulders vigorously. Only then did Zhou Xian react and got out of the car. As the girls walked into the yard, they saw Yi Xian setting up a barbecue grill in the yard. Meat was sizzling on it, emitting an enticing aroma. Dad! Uncle Yi! A few girls smelled the barbecue and ran towards Yi Xian happily. Did you have fun today? Yi Xian gently stroked the heads of the girls, his eyes full of doting. Fun! Several girls nodded, and Yi Xia was pulled over by Zhou Xiaodan and Yi Jing. Uncle Yi, Xiao Xia was amazing today. We met a guy selling fakes at the stall at the Cultural Relics exhibition. The two of them told each other what had just happened, and Yi Xian immediately laughed. He gently scratched Yi Xia's little nose and said with a smile. Xiao Xia is amazing. Dad, you eat. At this time, Yi Shi, who had been silent, picked up a piece of roasted meat and put it towards Yi Xian's mouth. Thank you, Cici. Cici is so good. Yi Xian smiled and bit the meat, and a burst of fragrance suddenly burst out in his mouth. By the way, where is your Aunt Chen Jing? Yi Xian saw that there were only these girls and not Chen Jing, so he asked curiously. Aunt Chen Jing is behind us, and here comes Aunt Chen Jing's friend Aunt Zhou Xian. Yi Jing said with a pout, and just as she finished speaking, Chen Jing and Zhou Xian walked towards the side. Mr. Yi. Chen Jing waved to Yi Xian. While grilling the meat, Yi Xian also waved to Chen Jing with a smile. Miss Chen, this must be Miss Zhou Xian. Chen Jing nodded and understood what the girls had said just now. Well, we are guests, so please sit down and enjoy the barbecue. Soon, everyone sat down and gathered around the barbecue grill, and Yi Xian filled everyone's cup with ice cola. Comfortable. Barbecue and Coke are so comfortable. Several girls were eating the barbecue contentedly, with their mouths shiny with oil. Chen Jing glanced at the calendar, squinted her eyes and smiled, then looked at Yi Jing and the other girls. Girls, your mother will soon finish her research and return home. Really? When Yi Jing and the other girls heard Chen Jing say this, they all looked at her with eyes wide open, with excitement in their eyes. Well. When has Auntie ever lied to you? Your mother is coming soon. Yeah. The girls were extremely happy at this moment, and Yi Xian's eyes were full of anticipation. Mr. Yi, I have something to tell you, can you come over for a moment? After dinner, Chen Jing called Yi Xian aside. Yi Xian looked at Chen Jing with a smile and said calmly. Miss Chen Jing, what's the matter? How could you do this? Chen Jing's expression suddenly became serious, which made Yi Xian a little confused. What's going on? I mean, why did you give such a valuable thing to a child? You know that you shouldn't show off your wealth. What if a bad guy spots you? When Yi Xian heard this, he remembered the diamond, but his expression remained unchanged. Ms. Chen Jing, don't worry about this, there's no problem. All right. Chen Jing also understood it at this time, but suddenly felt like a bronze player was educating a king. It seems that Mr. Yi has arranged people to protect the children. Afterwards, Zhou Xian and Chen Jing left. The little girls got up early and were tired at this time, so they simply took a nap. After getting up, the little girls washed up and were full of energy. They pulled Yi Xian and clamored to play poker together. Dad, play poker with us? Yi Xian was still drinking tea when several maids came over excitedly with expectant looks in their eyes. Hee hee, you girls, why do you suddenly want to play poker? Looking at the excited looks of the girls, Yi Xian asked happily. This is boring. Dad, just play with us. Yi Jing blinked and stared at Yi Xian pitifully. Okay. Daddy will play with you. Yi Xian smiled bitterly inside, and had no choice but to play with the girls. Hee. That's great. Hearing Yi Xian's agreement, several girls jumped up and down to get the playing cards and a few black water-based pens. Chapter 40 So Ugly. Yi Xian was a little confused when he saw that the girls not only brought cards but also pens. Girls, just hold the playing cards. Why are you holding a pen? Are you going to play cards and do your homework at the same time? How is that possible? Several girls stuck out their tongues at Yi Xian and then spoke playfully. Whoever loses has to draw a little turtle on his face. Yi Xian said oh, and then he suddenly realized. Looking at the sly smiles of the girls, he rubbed his hands and said, Come on, deal the cards. I want to see how many little turtles you girls can draw on Daddy's face. Yi Xia smiled silly and nodded, then sat in Yi Xian's arms. Her little eyes rolled around, making Yi Xian feel something was wrong. Dad, I want to take another good look at your face. Upon hearing this, the girls around them all covered their mouths and laughed. Aha, do you want Daddy to have little turtles painted all over his face? Hey, yes. Yi Xia raised a scissors hand gesture, as if victory was just around the corner. But things did not go as smoothly as these girls imagined. From the beginning of the deal to now, they have played 6 or 7 rounds, and Yi Xian's face is still clean, while the other girls have 1 or 2 Q-version turtles on their faces. How come Dad is so lucky? Yi Xia whispered to Yi Jing. At this moment these girls didn't know the seriousness of the matter. I don't know, but Dad can't always win. When we win, we must draw the biggest turtle on Dad's face. Yi Jing held the little turtle on his face, clenched his fists, and was full of energy. At this time, Yi Xi had 2 little turtles painted on her face. Her fair and cute face looked a little funny. She lowered her little head, as if she was afraid of being seen. Come on, let's continue. Yi Xian had dealt the cards again at this time. The other girls all shared the same hatred and smiled at each other knowingly. Their goal today was not to hurt each other, but to have Yi Xian's face covered with big turtles. But then, 1, 2, countless turtles, when there was almost no space left on the little girls' faces to draw turtles, there was still not a single one on Yi Xian's face. The little girls were very angry and couldn't believe that Yi Xian had not lost a single game from the beginning to now. Although Yi Jing, Yi Xia and Zhou Xiaodan's faces were almost completely painted, they still refused to believe it. As for Yi Xi, there was no place on her face to paint the next line. If she continued to paint, she would have to paint her neck. At this moment, Yi Xi could smell a strong odor of ink with just a sniff. She knew that her face was already covered with little turtles, and she was so anxious that she wanted to cry. When Yi Xian saw this, he couldn't help but feel a little guilty. This was bad news. There was no other way. If he continued to win like this, Yi Xi would definitely cry. Yi Xian had no choice but to lose the game on purpose, gently put the cards back into the deck, and said with some regret. Oh, it seems that good luck doesn't always come. Dad finally lost. Yeah. That's great. At this moment, several little girls suddenly burst into cheers, and even the shy Yi Xi laughed very happily, and the unhappiness on her face just now disappeared instantly. You girls, are you really that happy? Yi Xian looked at these girls and they were so happy after winning a game, and asked with some amusement. He. The girls didn't say anything, but looked at Yi Xian in unison and grabbed the water-based pens on the table. These girls. Yi Xian's eyelids jumped suddenly, and he thought to himself that he was in trouble this time. We are here. At this moment, several little girls suddenly pounced on Yi Xian and threw him directly onto the sofa. They grabbed the pens in their hands and started drawing on Yi Xian's face. Yi Xia gently held Yi Xian's face and smiled slyly. Dad, please don't move, otherwise the turtle won't look good. Yes, Dad. We will never bully you. Just draw one each. Yi Xi also smiled at Yi Xian, still looking a little timid, but the water-based pen in her hand was about to fall on Yi Xian's face. Looking at the girls in front of him with little turtles painted all over their faces, this angle was a perfect viewing angle. Yi Xian couldn't help but burst into laughter. Ha. Yi Xian's smile made the girls laugh so hard that they stopped the pens that were about to fall on Yi Xian's face. Is Dad stupid? Yi Xi looked at Yi Xian with concern, then glanced at Yi Xia and Yi Jing. Why is Dad so happy even though he was painted a little turtle? I know. I know. Yi Xia held the water-based pen in one hand and slapped his head and said, Dad must like little turtles, that's why he's so happy. After hearing this, several girls nodded and looked at Yi Xian with a smile. Dad, do you like little turtles very much? How about, we draw more for you? Forehead. Yi Xian looked at the girl's serious expression, a black line appeared on his forehead, and he swallowed slightly. No, I was laughing just now because you have little turtles painted all over your faces, it's so ugly. Ha ha ha. As he spoke, Yi Xian couldn't help laughing out loud again. Several little girls pouted and said unhappily, Dad, you are so mean. After saying that, several girls picked a spot each and started painting on Yi Xian's face stroke by stroke. After a while, the girls closed the pen caps, admired their own works, and nodded with satisfaction. All right. It's done. Yi Jing suddenly remembered something, ran to the side, found a mirror, and handed it to Yi Xian. Dad, come and admire the little turtle we carefully drew for you. After taking the mirror, Yi Xian couldn't help laughing when he saw himself like this. Girls, look at how ugly the picture you drew for your dad is. Yi Jing and the others didn't care about all that. When they saw Yi Xian being humiliated, they all raised their hands. Yeah. We did it. At this time, several girls clapped their hands and put on bright smiles on their faces, but the little turtles on their faces instantly deformed because of this smile. Ha ha ha. Yi Xian pointed at the little faces of the girls and looked at such a funny scene. He couldn't help laughing again. Ha ha ha. Dad, you're so ugly too. Several girls were also looking at Yi Xian's face, which was already covered with their masterpieces, and they were laughing so hard that they were bent over. Chapter 41. What a coincidence. Suddenly, the whole villa was filled with the laughter of Yi Xian and several girls, and a warm atmosphere filled the air. The next day, after finishing their meal, the girls put on their school bags and walked into the living room. Yi Xian looked at the girls getting ready to go and asked with a smile, What are you girls going to do, fully armed? Yi Jing tidied her small school bag, smiled, and looked at Yi Xia and Yi Shi beside her. Dad, we have to go buy something for Xiaoxia and Cici. Oh. Yes. Yi Xian slapped his thigh, wondering how could he have forgotten about this. Then I'll go with you. After saying that, Yi Xian put down the teacup in his hand, stood up, and was about to go out with the girls. It's okay, Dad. We can do this. As Yi Jing spoke, she obediently pulled Yi Xian's hand and asked Yi Xian to sit down. Yi Xia and Yi Shi also nodded beside her. All right. Yi Xian smiled slightly. Since the little girl said so, it was not impossible to let them go out by themselves. By the way, Jingjing, do you have any money left in your little piggy bank? Some. Yi Jing nodded, looking confident. Really? Seeing Yi Jing's confident look, Yi Xian smiled and took out a membership card and handed it to Yi Jing. Jingjing, Xiaodan, take Xia and Xiaoxi to the store we went to last time. Just buy whatever clothes you want and use this card to pay. Okay, thanks Dad. Yi Jing took a look and saw that it was a membership card, then took it with a smile. Then Dad, we'll be leaving first. Goodbye, Dad. The girls changed their shoes and waved to Yi Xian. Well, be careful. Okay. After a few words of advice, the girls walked out of the gate of Villa number 1. Yi Xian stood in front of the French window, watching the 4 girls walk outside hand in hand, and then took out his phone. The shopping mall we went to last time was not far from here, and the girls quickly arrived at their destination. The shopping mall is a place with a lot of people coming and going. The girls held hands and consciously tried to avoid getting separated. When they saw a store they liked, they walked in and looked around. Hello, kids. What do you want to buy? Can I help you find it? The shopping guide looked at the cute little girls coming in and was also attracted by them. She smiled sweetly at them. Yeah. Thank you, sister. We can just take a look ourselves. The girls thanked the shopping guide politely and looked at the dazzling array of shops. Since it was still early, they wanted to take a look for themselves. Okay, little darlings, feel free to call sister if you need anything. After listening to the polite answers of the little girls, the shopping guide liked them even more and followed them quietly. Xia, look at this hairband, it's so pretty. A few girls were shopping around, and Yi Jing suddenly saw a hairband with a floral border on the shelf in the front, and she trotted over. It's really beautiful. Several girls nodded. Xia Xia and Xiaoxi also liked this hairband very much, but when they looked at the price, they shook their heads. Well, forget about this one, let's look at the others, this one is too expensive. Although Xiaoxi liked this hairband very much, she quickly gave up the idea after seeing the price. This one is good too. After saying that, Xiaoxi picked up a promotional hairband from the shelf nearby and handed it to Yi Xia. The whole hairband is chocolate color with many white spots on it, which looks very cute. Sister, do you like this? Yi Xia took it, looked at it, smiled and nodded. I think this one looks pretty good too. Seeing that the price and style were both good, Yi Xia and Yi Shi picked one each. The shopping guide behind him saw this scene, looked at the well-behaved and cute little girls with a smile, and thought that these girls were really polite and obedient, and they didn't spend money indiscriminately. I don't know who can raise such a good daughter. The shopping guide suddenly thought of the naughty kid at home and shook his head helplessly. The gap between people is often incomparable, it is just too big. Afterwards, the girls picked out some accessories they liked and a few hairbands in the store, and then took them to the counter to pay with satisfaction. Yi Jing took out her own small treasury and paid the money. The cashier smiled and handed over the packaged items. Thank you, sister. Yi Jing took the bag and thanked the cashier in a baby voice, and the girls walked out of the store. Afterwards, the girls went shopping in other places. When they felt a little tired, they went to the supermarket again, carrying the packed snacks, and came to the rest area of the mall. Yi Jing and her 4 little girls sat here neatly, chatting and laughing, eating snacks, looking so happy. At the same time, there were 2 girls walking down the street. Both girls were very beautiful. They wore plain dresses, but that couldn't hide their scholarly scent. Alas, students nowadays are really hard to lead. They are all very weird. As we were walking and chatting, we saw a few primary school students playing and laughing nearby. One of the girls couldn't help but sigh. I don't know what's going on in these kids' heads. When I was teaching them, they actually asked me for leave to go out and play. I didn't agree to this kid's request, but he asked me seriously, "Teacher, why can I ask for leave to go to the bathroom during class, but not to go out and play? What else can I say? I can hold it in and not go to the bathroom, but I can't hold it in and not go out to play." I simply don't know how to answer. When the other girl heard this, she also laughed and sighed slightly. Well, I'm fine. I only teach math. The homeroom teacher is the one who's really busy. He has to deal with parents and attend study meetings. It's so tiring. Who says it isn't true? It's really not easy to be a teacher these days. Zhang Nan nodded with empathy, but suddenly looked to the other side and was stunned. Hey, Zhang Nan, what's wrong with you? The girl next to him saw Zhang Nan stop and asked curiously. It's okay, I saw my students. Zhang Nan smiled, pulled the girl next to him, and walked towards the girls. Jinjing. Xiaodan. Zhang Nan walked up to the girls and greeted them with a smile. Hey, Mr. Zhang. When Yi Jing and Zhou Xiaodan saw that it was their teacher coming, they were a little confused at first, but then they smiled and greeted him. Hello, Teacher Zhang. What a coincidence. Chapter 42. 1 cup for each person. Zhang Nan smiled and nodded, then looked around the girls but didn't see any parents, so he asked curiously. By the way, where are your parents? Why don't I see them? Zhou Xiaodan shook his head slightly and answered politely. It's like this, Teacher Zhang. We came out to buy things by ourselves, so our parents didn't come with us. Zhang Nan frowned and looked at the things the 2 little girls bought. He felt very puzzled. What's wrong with parents nowadays? Why are they so confident in their children? And how old are these children? How can they be allowed to come to a shopping mall with so many people alone? Thinking of this, Zhang Nan looked at another girl next to him, and the girl nodded knowingly. As teachers, they obviously cannot be completely confident about these children. Children, how about this? The teacher will stay with you and take you back later. Teacher Zhang, it's okay, go ahead and have a look, we are all grown up. Yi Jing politely rejected Zhang Nan's kindness, and Zhang Nan smiled and touched the little girl's head. Okay, a kid who's only in the 1st grade has grown up. There's no room for negotiation. The teacher is also worried about your safety. Okay, thank you Teacher Zhang. Having said that, Yi Jing and Zhou Xiaodan had no reason to refuse, and they thanked Zhang Nan with a smile. Teacher Zhang, here's something for you to eat. Zhou Xiaodan handed over the freshly opened potato chips on the table. Zhang Nan took it with a smile. Looking at the 2 little girls in front of him, his mood improved a lot. Thank you, Xiaodan and Jingjing. Let's go shopping together after you have rested for a while. Zhang Nan ate potato chips and sat next to the girls. Compared to other mischievous children, Zhang Nan still likes Zhou Xiaodan and Yi Jing very much, and always gives her the feeling of being a caring little cotton-padded jacket. After resting for a while, Yi Jing brought everyone to the store where Yi Xian had customized clothes for her and Xiaodan last time. The shopping guide recognized them immediately and greeted them warmly. Little friends, you are here again, come in, and see whatever you want. Aha! Yi Jing and Zhou Xiaodan nodded and led Yi Xia and Yi Shi inside to choose clothes. Zhang Nan and her bestie also strolled around and were filled with emotion. I say, the clothes here are really nice. My girlfriend stroked the little skirt on the shelf and fully felt the design and texture of the clothes. They are definitely top-notch. It's really good, very nice looking, and the quality seems to be good too. Zhang Nan nodded in agreement and sat aside waiting for the girls. What a pity, these clothes are out of our sizes. Although the clothes here are nice, they can't wear them. Not long after, the girls had picked out the clothes and took them all to the counter. Sister, we've chosen it. Okay. The clerk took the clothes handed over by the girls with a smile, and then began to scan the codes and pack them. Zhang Nan and her bestie saw that people were checking out and walked over to the counter. How these girls pay the bill is also something Zhang Nan and her bestie are curious about. But when they walked to the counter and saw the prices, Zhang Nan and her bestie instantly became uneasy. A small skirt costs so much money. Looking at the string of numbers on the tag, Zhang Nan and her bestie were both very nervous and worried that this was a shady shop. But at this time, the shop assistants had already started to count the bills. Sister, this is a membership card. Yi Jing suddenly remembered the card that Yi Xian had given her before, and gave it together with the card to the clerk in front of her. Okay, wait a minute, kids. Zhang Nan watched the scene and looked at Yi Jing curiously. Jingjing, what's your card? Teacher Zhang, this was given to me by my father. All right. Zhang Nan also looked embarrassed and started to worry. Is the money in this card really enough? The best friend beside her also winked at Zhang Nan. Zhang Nan sighed, walked to the counter and asked in a low voice. Excuse me, I want to ask, is there enough money in this card? At this moment, Zhang Nan was actually in a dilemma. After all, these clothes were too expensive. He must be worried that there was not enough money in the card. He was also thinking about whether he should call Yi Jing's father first. To put it another way, even if there is enough money in the card, it is still not a small amount after all. Miss, please wait a moment. I'll know after I swipe it. The cashier answered politely, then swiped the card and nodded with a smile. It's okay, there's still enough, there's still 4,000 in there, huh? For a moment, the cashier was talking aside, and when he saw the balance appearing on the screen in front of him, he was stunned. There are more than 40 million in it. Suddenly, the cashier rubbed his eyes and couldn't believe the scene. If an adult were to bring a card like this, they might be surprised, but they definitely wouldn't be as shocked as they are now. But after all, these were brought by a few little girls. What? When Zhang Nan heard the number, she thought she had heard it wrong. She leaned over to take a look, and the real number in front of her also scared her. At this time, Zhang Nan was also stunned, and her best friend beside her also opened her mouth wide. Zhang Nan never imagined that there would be so much money on a card that these girls casually took out. Her best friend was even more stunned. These little girls are still first graders. In this way, my bestie couldn't help but sigh that while many people are still on their way to Rome, some people have already been born in Rome. What kind of family is this, to let a few little girls hang out with cards worth tens of millions? Okay, kid, keep your card safe. After the cashier paid the bill, he wiped his sweat and quickly handed the card back to Yi Jing. Thank you, sister. After Yi Jing and the others expressed their gratitude, they took their clothes and cards and ran out of the store. Zhang Nan and her best friend were stunned for a long time. When they saw the girls running outside, they realized what was going on and quickly chased after them. Girls, don't run so fast. Zhang Nan and her bestie took quite a bit of effort to catch up with these little guys. Finally, at the stairs in front, the two of them managed to stop the girls. I'm so thirsty. You guys take a few girls and wait here. I'll go buy something to drink. Zhang Nan's best friend just felt dry mouth at this time, so she asked Zhang Nan to look after a few girls and went to a nearby milk tea shop. Not long after, she came to the crowd with a few cups of milk tea. Here. 1 cup for each person. The best friend shared the milk tea with Zhang Nan and a few girls, and the girls quickly thanked her. Chapter 43. Too happy. Thank you, sister. Afterwards, the two of them took the little girls out of the mall and came to a nearby park, where they sat on a bench and prepared to take a rest. A few girls were holding milk tea, drinking it while enjoying the breeze and bathing in the warm sunshine. It was so comfortable. So comfortable. Yi Jing took a few sips of milk tea and couldn't help but sigh. The maids beside them also nodded in agreement. The more Zhang Nan and her best friend looked at these girls, the more outrageous they found it. Even now, they still couldn't figure out what had just happened. By the way, you girls, why did you run away just now? At this time, attention shifted to Zhang Nan, who asked about what had just happened. Well, we don't want to trouble the teacher. Yi Jing and Zhou Xiaodan lowered their heads as they spoke. Okay, the teacher doesn't blame you. You guys have been very well behaved. Zhang Nan smiled and scratched the noses of the girls. He wanted to ask about the card, but he hesitated. After all, this is someone else's family affair and it concerns other people's property. As a teacher, she really shouldn't ask too many questions. If other people knew about this, they would inevitably gossip. Teacher Zhang Nan, should we go back? Yi Jing was drinking milk tea when she thought of this question and asked Zhang Nan. Take a rest for a while, and the teacher will take you back, okay? After hearing the little girl's question, Zhang Nan no longer thought about the membership card incident. Okay. Thank you, Teacher Zhang Nan. Zhou Xiaodan nodded playfully and drank the milk tea in big gulps. Xiaodan, drink slowly. No one is competing with you for the drink. Be careful not to choke. Just as a few people were talking, a film crew came hurriedly from a distance. The crew was now walking into the park from the other side, but they could still see this side of the bench. This place is nice, let's shoot here. I think it's okay. It just so happens that the scenery here is pretty good. Several crew members walked into the park, looked at the scenery, and nodded with satisfaction. Director, what do you think of this place? One of the staff members came up to a middle-aged man wearing glasses and asked respectfully. Yeah, not bad. The director took a quick look and nodded with satisfaction. This place does look pretty good. Whether it is the surrounding scenery, tourists, or the shooting environment and viewing angle, it can be said to be excellent. Alright, all units, actors, please take note, we may start filming at any time, be ready. The assistant director at the side saw this and gave a few instructions to the people behind him. The director was walking forward at this time, but suddenly stopped and saw a few girls sitting on a bench in the distance drinking milk tea, and two girls were chatting next to them. It seems that today's target has been found. The director looked at this scene with a slight smile on his face. Director, what do you mean? The assistant director also saw the people sitting on the bench in front, his mouth twitching slightly as he asked the director a question. Yes, I'm talking about them. This is such a great filming material. Maybe because of this shot, our ratings will get a big boost. This. Listening to the director's passionate words, the assistant director felt a little worried and looked at the director seriously. Director, they don't look that old, so there won't be any emergencies, right? Looking at those cute little girls, the assistant director became more and more worried. These children are still very young. I am worried whether this will cause any psychological trauma to them. After hearing what the assistant director said, the director thought about it carefully and realized that this was indeed a problem. Then, the director walked towards the actor who was putting on makeup behind him and gave him serious instructions. Everyone, we must be careful about the scale of today's scene, because the targets are all girls, and some of them are very young. If you find that the other person is scared, stop filming immediately and don't cause too much impact on him. Several actors listened to the director's words, looked at the little girls sitting on the bench in the distance, and nodded solemnly. This shouldn't be a big problem. We'll have to explain it to them later. If we give them some gifts, there shouldn't be any problem. The director nodded, but still gave a few more instructions. Even though this is the case, we must also be aware of the special nature of our targets this time. After all, they are just little girls. No matter what we do, we must keep the scale in mind. Then the director looked behind him and spoke softly. Okay, now we can turn on the variety show live. Okay. A staff member made an okay gesture and then turned on the live broadcast. Hello everyone, welcome to our channel. Today's filming content is very different, it's a prank by a robber. You may have seen the kids sitting on the bench in front, and the two girls next to them. They are the ones we are going to play a prank on today. Our actors will put on makeup and pretend to be robbers. Let's see how these kids and girls will react. After introducing today's content, more and more people entered the live broadcast room, and the barrage began to become noisy. Isn't this a bad idea? It might scare some kids. I think so too. What if the child is frightened and suffers psychological trauma? Wow, I don't dare to look at it anymore. What's there to be afraid of? I was very brave when I was a kid. Are kids nowadays timid? It's easy to talk when you're standing, but this guy is a robber. For a while, there were some differences of opinion in the comments regarding this issue, but most people still believed that this approach was not a good idea. The director looked at the comments and quickly explained. Dear audience, please rest assured about this issue. There is absolutely no problem. If anything unexpected happens, we will stop filming immediately. After listening to the director's explanation, the comments eased a little, but there was still some concern. After all, if something like this happened to a few little girls, even adults would be scared if they encountered it. Okay, put on your makeup. After dealing with the barrage issue, the director quickly urged the actors to continue putting on makeup so as not to miss the start of filming. What if all those who are hesitant have left? What are they still shooting for? At this time, on the bench, a few girls were still drinking milk tea and chatting. They were as happy as they could be. Chapter 44. What do you want to do? However, they never expected that a storm was about to hit not far from them. Okay, the actors are in place. Soon, the actors finished their makeup and were ready to go at any time. The director did not delay any longer and looked at the camera crew nearby. Camera crew, get ready, we're about to start. Okay. The actors and crew are all moving, making final preparations, and are about to start filming. But at this moment, a few tough guys suddenly flashed over. Each of them was tall and strong, with extraordinary demeanor. The tough guys surrounded the film crew members, all of them looked unhappy. What are you guys doing? The director couldn't help swallowing his saliva when watching this scene, thinking, I have never heard of any evil forces here? Faced with the director's questions, these tough guys' faces darkened and they all stared at them with unfriendly expressions, making the crew feel that these people's eyes were enough to kill. What are you guys going to do to those guys? The tough guy in the lead roared, and for a moment, the entire crew was stunned, and the director was even more frightened. The barrage of comments instantly exploded, filling the entire screen. Oh my god, who are these people? What's going on? Is it the other party's security guard? What kind of bullshit are you talking about? Who would go out with so many security guards? These can't be bad people, looking at their eyes, oh my, so scary. He won't be a good person anyway. The barrage of comments started to discuss the identities of these people, and the identities of the live broadcast rooms were also showing a dramatic linear increase. But these tough guys noticed that the live broadcast was still going on, and one of them quickly covered the camera, and the picture suddenly became dark. What happened? The live broadcast was interrupted. Oh my goodness. Why can't I see anything? Is a fight about to break out? Seeing that the camera on his side was blocked, the director shuddered again, looked at the burly men tremblingly, and spoke stutteringly. What are you doing? Are you going to hit someone? I'm warning you, this is a society ruled by law. But no matter what the director said, these tough guys just surrounded them and never said a word. On the other side, a young man in military clothes was also walking towards this side. Seeing this, the tough guys quickly made way for him. The young man had a cold look in his eyes, and an aura of majesty emanated from his brows. He walked quickly towards the director. This is our protected person, please leave, otherwise you will bear the consequences. This is my identification. The person who spoke was none other than Bai Xing, who casually took out his ID and handed it to the director. The director didn't dare to breathe at this moment. He took the certificate handed over by Bai Xing with trembling body. He opened it and took a look. Suddenly, the corner of his mouth twitched and he almost collapsed to the ground. The young man in front of him was actually a 5-star colonel in the Yanhuang military department. Oh my god. The Yanhuang military is at the 5-star level. At this time, the director could no longer conceal his surprise and suddenly blurted out. At this moment, the director's heart was filled with waves of turmoil. He couldn't figure out how he had provoked such a terrifying level. Could it be because of these little girls? But that doesn't make sense. Is it necessary to mobilize such terrifying energy just for such a small matter? But now even a fool can see that they are talking about none other than these little girls. Although the barrage could not see the screen, they could hear the sound. When they heard the director's exclamation, they were immediately scared. What's going on? How could I have provoked such a powerful person? From the sound, it seems like it's because of the pranks we played on the targets just now. Those girls, oh my god, is this necessary? At this moment, a gleam of light suddenly flashed in by Xing's eyes. The director was so scared that all his fat body trembled, and he hurriedly explained. Sorry, this is all a misunderstanding. We are from the production team. This is a prank show that involves many areas of social experimentation. It still has certain value. What we are going to do today is just to test how those people who just encountered the robbers would deal with it and what kind of reaction they would have. We don't have any bad intentions, we are just doing a show and the audience is random. The director was almost going crazy at this moment. Looking at these people, he felt that if he was not careful, they would mercilessly break his neck. After explaining clearly, Bai Xing took a deep breath, and his expression softened a little, but still without any emotion. If you want to do this kind of activity, do it somewhere else, not here. I'll give you half a minute. Get out of here. I don't like seeing your shadows after the time is up. Every word Bai Xing said was like a sledgehammer hitting every member of the crew, making it extremely difficult to even breathe. The barrage heard the conversation between Bai Xing and the director and was extremely shocked. It seems that the crew hit a wall this time. Brothers, please go away. It's over. Run quickly, the first bird to stick its head out gets shot, don't keep anyone here. Let's go now. Let's go now. The director broke out in a cold sweat, and without caring about the other people and the crew around him, he crawled to the side. When the crew saw the director leave, they immediately scattered like birds and beasts. After a while, no one from the crew could be seen here anymore. After running for about 500 or 600 meters, the crew members stopped panting, looked back and saw that no one was following them, and they breathed a sigh of relief. But even so, each of them still felt an indescribable fear in their hearts. At the same time, Yi Jing and her friends were sitting on a bench drinking milk tea. The breeze was blowing gently and the sun was shining brightly. It was warm but not hot. Yi Jing looked at Xia Xia and Xiao Shi beside her, and couldn't help but think of her mother, her third sister Yi Yun, and her fourth sister Yi Zi. Looking towards the western sky, Yi Jing's eyes showed a hint of anticipation. At this moment in Europe, in a closed park, there is a woman standing. The woman is very beautiful. No matter from which angle you look at her, her beauty is impeccable. The woman has a proud posture and a devilish figure, with curves in all the right places and not a trace of fat. If her figure is a highlight of the woman in front of you, then you will definitely be attracted by her when you see her face. P.S. Thank you all for reading and giving gifts. I donated all the proceeds from this book yesterday. I hope everything goes well. Chapter 45, Let the Teacher Send You Off? Those eyes as deep as stars, delicate and three-dimensional facial features, are as perfect as the golden ratio. Even the most popular model will feel more or less ashamed when seeing the woman in front of him. The proud and independent aura she exudes is even more amazing. She exudes nobility all over her body. Compared to ordinary women, she is calm and shrewd, but also very reserved. The woman was wearing a spotless white coat, but even so, it still couldn't hide her proud figure. She had a cool and noble temperament, as if she came from the palace in heaven. At this moment, she was also looking at the horizon, exhaled lightly, and there was a hint of longing in her eyes. On the other side, Wang Yiyu was walking towards this side with two little girls. Wang Yiyun is also a beautiful and elegant woman. Holding a little girl in one hand, she looks very well behaved, like an exquisite Barbie doll. Feeling the sweet breath of the two little cuties beside her, Wang Yiyun had a warm smile on her lips. The two little girls were carrying small school bags and had pigtails on their hair. Their eyes were full of anticipation, so much so that some sweat appeared on the palms of their hands. Wang Yiyu sensed the two girls' thoughts, looked at them with a smile, and spoke gently. Girls, do you miss your mom? You'll be able to see her soon. The two girls nodded, but suddenly saw a beautiful figure in front of them. Mother! The two girls rubbed their eyes, and Wang Xiniao looked over when she heard the voice and covered her mouth excitedly. Yun Yun, Xiaozi. Mom! We missed you so much. The two girls immediately broke free from Wang Yiyu's hands, their eyes red and sparkling with tears, and they threw themselves directly into Wang Xinyao's arms. Feeling the warmth of the two little girls, Wang Xinyao's eyes turned slightly red, and she hugged the two girls in front of her tightly. How are you all? Are you all okay? Mom, don't worry, we are doing fine over there. That's good. That's good. Looking at this heartwarming scene, Wang Yiyu walked over with a smile and greeted Wang Xinyao. How's it going? I brought two girls to you. Are you happy? I'm so happy, thank you Evian. Wang Xinyao squinted her eyes and smiled, then nodded at Wang Yiyu. What's wrong? Why didn't Xia Xia and Xiaoxi come? After a few pleasantries, Wang Xinyao didn't see the other two girls and asked with some disappointment. What a pity. I only have 2 spots this time. These two little ones won the rock paper scissors game and came with me. The remaining 2 girls are staying with Yu Yan. Wang Yiyu shook her head. This was the limit of what she could do. As she spoke, Wang Yiyun suddenly remembered something, looked at Wang Xinyao in front of her, and continued. But I heard that these 2 girls seem to be going to Jiling to look for Yi Jing. I wonder if they have gone yet. Wang Xinyao smiled and waved her hands, not worrying too much about it. It's okay. Even if they go, Chen Jing will be there to take care of them. It's okay. Wang Yiyu nodded, that was indeed the truth. After saying a few more words, Wang Xinyao looked at Wang Yiyu in front of her, then looked at the 2 girls in her arms, and patted the 2 girls' heads. Yun Yun, Xiaozi, go play in the car over there first. Mommy brought you some delicious food. As Wang Xinyao spoke, she looked at the car parked nearby. Okay, Mom. We'll wait for you in the car then. The 2 girls nodded obediently and walked over hand in hand. Now, only Wang Yiyun and Wang Xinyao are left here. After a moment's silence, the 2 looked at each other and smiled, but there seemed to be a hint of bitterness in their smiles. Xinyao, have you really decided to go back to the country and visit the Wang family in a few days? Wang Yiyan looked seriously at Wang Xinyao, who was wearing a white coat in front of her, and asked seriously. Wang Xinyao nodded and was about to say something, but then fell into silence again. With this matter in front of her, she had to think more about it. In a few days, the Wang family's semi-annual meeting would be held, and this time, she was also invited to attend. Although this is not a strange thing for most people in the Wang family, it is not that simple for Wang Xinyao. I guess this is the first time she's going back since she ran away with the ball that year. I'm afraid this time, things won't be that simple. I wonder how many more setbacks you'll have to face. Wang Yiyun sighed, and a hint of complexity inadvertently emerged in her eyes. It's okay, I'm not afraid. The main reason I came back was for these girls, to make their lives better. No matter what I do, I have no regrets. I don't need to be afraid of anything here. I have survived all these years. Do I still care about these things? Wang Xinyao nodded, her tone containing determination and tenacity, as well as deep love for the children. Looking at her stubborn best friend, Wang Yiyun couldn't help but sigh again. Mom, Aunt Evian, have some snacks. Just when the atmosphere was a little heavy, the 2 girls at the side obediently handed over snacks and looked at them with a smile. Thank you, girls. Because of the arrival of the 2 little girls, the atmosphere here suddenly became much better. Wang Xinyao bent down and looked at the 2 girls, and the 2 girls also put the snacks into Wang Xinyao's mouth. What about mine? Wang Yiyu also bent down and squinted at the 2 girls. Aunt Evian. Here. The 2 girls blushed, took out a few more pieces and put them into Wang Yiyu's mouth. What good kids! Wang Yiyan gently stroked the 2 girls' heads, and Wang Xinyao's mouth also showed a happy smile. At this moment in Jiling, Yi Jing suddenly came to his senses and saw a sunset appearing on the horizon. We should go home now, Dad will be worried soon. After thinking for a while, Yi Jing looked at the other girls around her and said seriously, with the demeanor of an elder sister. Okay. The other girls chuckled and agreed in unison. Zhang Nan looked at them, but was still a little worried. Do you want me to take you back? At this time, Yi Jing had just finished calling Tang Hao, and then politely rejected Zhang Nan's kindness. It's okay, teacher Zhang Nan. There will be a car to pick us up soon. I see. Zhang Nan nodded and didn't bother with it anymore. Then the teacher will watch you and leave when the car to pick you up arrives. Chapter 46 What's going on? Well, thank you, teacher Zhang Nan. After thanking Zhang Nan, the girls stared expectantly, waiting for Tang Hao to drive over to pick them up. After a while, a Rolls-Royce Phantom extended version drove in front of the girls. Tang Hao opened the car door with a smile and waved to the girls. Girls, did you have fun today? As he spoke, Tang Hao picked up the things the girls had bought and put them all in the trunk. Happy. Thank you, Uncle Tang. Yi Jing and the other girls thanked Tang Hao with a smile and looked at Zhang Nan and the other person standing beside them. Teacher Zhang Nan, we are leaving first. Goodbye. At this moment, Zhang Nan and her bestie were completely stunned, staring at the Rolls-Royce Phantom parked in front of them. They could never have imagined that the car that picked up these girls was such a luxury car. Zhang Nan was even more surprised at this time, thinking secretly in his heart, the school where he was studying was not an aristocratic school? This was too exaggerated. After hearing the girl saying goodbye to him, Zhang Nan, who was in shock, finally reacted, forced a smile, and waved to the girls. Goodbye, kids. Tang Hao opened the car door, and after all the girls got in, Tang Hao glanced at the two people who were in a daze and smiled politely. Thank you for taking care of the kids, thank you for the trouble. After saying that, Tang Hao opened the car door, stepped on the accelerator, and sped towards Villa number 1. Oh my god. Zhang Nan and her bestie were more and more surprised. They looked at the Rolls-Royce going away with their mouths wide open, their hair messy in the wind. On the way home, Tang Hao drove past a big hotel. A group of dignitaries walked out of the hotel, surrounded by a middle-aged man. The middle-aged man seemed to have a smile on his face while talking to these dignitaries, but if you pay attention to his eyes, you will find that there is an unspeakable sadness in them. Mr. Lin, take care. If you need anything or if we can help you, please feel free to contact us. Yes, Mr. Lin, your visit to Jiling this time has brought honor to our humble home. It's not easy for a big shot like you to come visit us. We really admire you. These dignitaries who were usually arrogant and domineering were as polite as they could be to this middle-aged man. The smiles on their faces were as flattering as they could be, and were simply indescribably flattering. After all, this middle-aged man is from Tianjing, and is more than one level higher than them. Moreover, this is Lin Yuhan, the head of the Lin family, one of the 4 major families in Tianjing. Such a status is much higher than those high-ranking officials in Jiling. So when facing this person, these dignitaries also lowered their status, and their attitude and tone were all respectful. Rolls-Royce Phantom Extended Edition. A crowd of people were surrounding Lin Yuhan and walking outside. One of the CEOs glanced over and suddenly discovered something. He was stunned for a moment, and then he couldn't help but let out a low cry. When the other people nearby heard the sound, they all looked over and saw the Rolls-Royce passing by. Their expressions were exactly the same as the boss's. They stopped in their tracks and stared blankly. This is Mr. Ye's car. These dignitaries couldn't help but sigh, which made Lin Yuhan on the side feel a little strange. Mr. Yi? Lin Yuhan's family is naturally smart since it can become one of the 4 major families in Tianjing. Just from the tone of these people's voices, one could tell that these local tyrants in Jiling, who usually look down on everyone, spoke in even lower tones than when they were facing himself. As a result, Lin Yuhan was also curious. Who on earth was this person who could suppress so many people? The person next to him heard Lin Yuhan's doubt, took a breath, and then continued the introduction. Mr. Lin, you don't know this, Mr. Yi is the most distinguished person in all of Jiling. We have all seen Mr. Yi's power. With just a wave of his hand, he can bring huge amounts of wealth to the entire Jiling, boosting the economy of the entire Jiling. It is simply rising in a straight line. Speaking of this, the man couldn't help but sigh, and a hint of confusion gradually appeared in his eyes. Alas, but we don't know what Mr. Yi did in the past. It seems that after experiencing the secular world, he finally returned to a dull feeling. When the others heard this, they also echoed in agreement. That's right, Mr. Yi looks like he has been freed from all worldly desires. His temperament is simply amazing. Yeah, I don't know how to describe it. Even when I stand next to Mr. Yi, I feel a sense of oppression, but Mr. Yi is still as calm as water. Mr. Yi could have achieved great things now, but he chose to slowly fade out of other people's sight. Such a realm is beyond the reach of ordinary people like us. Alas, Mr. Yi is simply too mysterious. I can't imagine what kind of existence he was before this. Lin Yuhan looked at the serious expressions of these dignitaries and laughed, muttering to himself. Anyway, I don't think so. Who doesn't like money? What is the full name of this Mr. Yi you are talking about? Although Lin Yuhan said this, he was more or less curious about such people in his heart. My name is Yi Xian. Yi Xian. Suddenly, Lin Yuhan's body trembled slightly, he looked at everyone, and his expression suddenly changed. What's your name? Say it again. Lin. Patriarch Lin, Mr. Yi is called Yi Xian. Hiss. Lin Yuhan could no longer remain calm. He took a deep breath and his mind went blank in an instant. What does the Yi Xian you are talking about look like? Lin Yuhan still didn't quite believe it, but decided to continue asking. Mr. Yi, he still looks very young, and he can be said to be handsome. The bosses did not dare to neglect Lin Yuhan's question, so they gave a detailed introduction of Yi Xian's appearance. As the conversation continued, Lin Yuhan became more and more surprised. One of the CEOs suddenly thought of something, slapped his head, took out his cell phone, flipped open Yi Xian's photo, and handed it to Lin Yuhan. Mr. Lin, I remember now, I have a photo of Mr. Yi here. Quick, show me. When he heard there was a photo, Lin Yuhan immediately took the phone, his eyes widened. As soon as he saw the photo, he was completely certain in his mind that this was Yi Xian. Even so, Lin Yuhan was still looking at the photo. A tear couldn't help but slide down the corner of his eye, and he reached out to wipe it away. Chapter 47 Xiaoxi is injured. This. The bosses standing by were all stunned. They said that men don't shed tears easily. Who is this Mr. Lin? He is a well-known figure. But why did she cry like this when she saw Mr. Yi's photo? Although they had a lot of thoughts in their minds, the bosses did not say anything and just watched quietly. After all, whether it is Yi Xian or Lin Yuhan, they have one thing in common: they are people they can't afford to offend. Give. After a moment of silence, Lin Yuhan's eyes turned red. He wiped away the last tear from the corner of his eyes and returned the phone to the boss. Then, Lin Yuhan took out his mobile phone and made a call. Hurry up and prepare a car and charter a plane. I want to go back to Tianjin. After speaking, Lin Yuhan hung up the phone and left in a hurry. A group of CEOs stared at Lin Yuhan's determined back as he left, their eyes wide open. No one could figure out what had happened. They were all confused and began to discuss and speculate. Hey! What's going on? I just can't understand it. Who said it wasn't true? Why did Mr. Lin start crying when he saw Mr. Yi's photo? Master Lin, should he know Mr. Yi? For a while, the dignitaries here had different opinions, but no one knew what was going on. At the same time, several little girls also returned home, carrying large and small bags, and swarmed into the villa. Dad, we're back. Seeing Yi Xian sitting on the sofa drinking tea, several girls all ran towards him and shook the various shopping bags in their hands. Dad, we've finished shopping. When Yi Xian saw a few maids coming over, he smiled dotingly, put down the teacup in his hand, and moved closer to the maids. Show Daddy, what did the girls buy? Okay. The girls chuckled, took out the things they had bought and placed them on the sofa. Dad, look, these are hairbands, these are clothes, these are skirts. Yi Xia pointed at these things and introduced them to Yi Xian one by one. How about it, Dad? Do you think it looks good? Yi Xi curled up in Yi Xian's arms and asked foolishly. Beautiful, so beautiful, my babies are so great. Looking at these small and cute clothes and hair accessories, Yi Xian nodded with satisfaction. That's great. They can even go shopping for clothes by themselves. My girls are so amazing. Yi Xian hugged the girls in his arms, his eyes filled with happiness and pride. Thank you, Dad. After they were released, several maids continued to rummage through the clothes and began to divide the things. Yi Jing took out a membership card and handed it to Yi Xian. Dad, this is the card, here it is. Yi Xian took the membership card with a smile and pinched Yi Jing's cute little face. Jingjing is awesome. She looks like a big sister now. Hearing Yi Xian's praise, Yi Jing scratched his head embarrassedly. Dad, I'm still a kid, too. Ha ha ha. Yi Xian was immediately amused and stood up with a smile. Okay, girls, play here for a while. Daddy will take you for a run in the evening. Good. When they heard that they were going out for a run in the evening, the girls jumped up and down excitedly. Xia, this is yours, Xiaoxi, this is yours. As the elder sister, Yi Jing also returned to her post and distributed the purchased things to Yi Xia and Cici one by one, and some were for Zhou Xiaodan and herself. Seeing the scene, Yi Xian couldn't help but grin. It seems that Yi Jing has indeed grown up a lot. Finally, with the help of several maids, although the things they bought were a bit much and a bit messy, they were packed up quickly. Although they had been shopping for a long time, the little girls were still full of energy. When they heard that they were going to go jogging in the evening, no one could calm down and they were eager to set off immediately. Let's warm up first. Yi Xia could no longer hold back and came up with an idea. Warm up? How do you warm up? The other girls were a little confused. They pouted their lips and asked in confusion. Hey, Dad, this house is so big, we can run around inside first, isn't that just warming up? Yi Xia waved her hand, and it seemed that Villa Number 1 had become a beautiful plastic running track in her eyes. Sure. Yi Jing thought about it and suddenly found it very interesting, and looked at Xiaodan and Xiaoxi. I agree. The teacher said that we should warm up before exercising so as not to get hurt. Xiaodan also thought that this was feasible, and then several girls turned their attention to Yi Shi. I listened to my sisters. Xiaoxi blushed and nodded slightly. Good. Passed unanimously. Yi Xia gave a thumbs up and was the first to run in the huge living room. Xia, wait for us. Afterwards, Yi Jing and Xiaodan followed, pulling Xiaoxi along. Suddenly, a small rally started in the living room, with Yi Xia taking the lead for the time being. Yi Xian saw the scene from the side and a smile appeared on his lips, but the next second, Yi Xian's expression froze. Ah! Yi Shi suddenly slipped and fell to the ground, hugging her ankle, tears streaming down her face. Xiao Shi. Seeing this scene, Yi Xian immediately ran over to check on Yi Shi's condition. Several other girls also gathered around Yi Shi, all of them were very worried about Yi Shi's situation. It's okay, I just sprained my ankle. While massaging Yi Xian, he comforted Yi Shi with a smile. I don't know if it was the effect of Yi Xian's massage, or the strength of her father, but Yi Shi quickly held back the tears that were welling up in her eyes. Jingjing, go get an ice pack from the freezer. Yi Xian quickly moved Yi Shi to the sofa, and while massaging her, he asked Yi Jing to bring an ice pack to apply soothing ice compress to Xiao Shi. The night run was cancelled due to this sudden incident. Whether eating or watching TV, Yi Xian held Yi Shi tightly, fearing that she would be hurt again. The little ones are also very sensible. No matter who they are, they will take care of their fifth sister first. When it was time to go to bed at night, Yi Shi was almost recovered, but she still lay in Yi Xian's arms, sleeping soundly. Although this did not allow Yi Xian to sleep well, but feeling the sweet and peaceful breathing of the little girl in front of him, Yi Xian could not help but raise a happy smile at the corner of his mouth. Before this, perhaps for him, sleeping with his child in his arms had become a luxury. Chapter 48 Dad. But it was the arrival of these little angels that brought about earth-shaking changes in his life. This was the scene he had imagined countless times. It would be great if it could always be like this. Gently tidying up Xiaoxi's hair while she was sleeping, Yi Xian couldn't help but sigh. The next day, when Yi Xian woke up, Yi Shi had fallen from his arms and fell asleep in Yi Xia's arms. Looking at this heartwarming scene, Yi Xian smiled slightly. These girls, there are so many rooms here, but they always squeeze together with him. Now that I woke up, I saw that everyone around me was lying in a mess and none of them had woken up yet. Yi Xia and Yi Shi were hugging each other and were still sleeping on the pillows. As for the two girls, Zhou Xiaodan and Yi Jing, their sleeping positions are as outrageous as they can be. At this time, half of Yi Jing's body was tilted up, with her head resting on the raised part at the end of the bed. She was sleeping very soundly. There was also Zhou Xiaodan, whose pair of white and tender little feet were stretched out, with half a finger in her mouth, as if she was still eating snacks in her dream. These girls. Yi Xian smiled and climbed out of bed carefully, afraid of waking up the girls. After all, the girls were tired yesterday, so it would be better to let them sleep a little longer. Call. Arriving at the yard outside the villa, Yi Xian took a deep breath of the fresh morning air. Since he had nothing to do anyway, he might as well practice Tai Chi to stretch his muscles. Bang! As Yi Xian straightened his body and waved his sleeves, a beautiful Tai Chi momentum appeared before his eyes, and a loud bang was heard in the air. Although it was just a practice, if someone saw the scene at this moment, they would definitely be very surprised. Yi Xian's Tai Chi can be said to have reached the pinnacle. His moves are vigorous and powerful, yet rough yet delicate. Every movement and force are as perfect as they can be. I saw his hands, sometimes palms, sometimes fists, like cannonballs scraping the air, waves of dawn sounds, full of power. His footsteps were like fog, as if they were impossible to figure out, yet so light, and his speed was also astonishing. Hi-ya! Yi Xian was boxing. At this moment, in the bedroom, Yi Shi woke up in a daze and yawned. Seeing that Yi Xian's seat was empty, Yi Shi suddenly felt empty and wondered when her father got up. Then she slowly got out of bed, walked to the window, gently opened the curtains, and poked her little head out to look outside. A burst of white light was a little dazzling. She didn't see anything and closed her eyes instinctively. After adapting for a few seconds, she slowly opened her eyes, but was immediately stunned. In the yard outside, Yi Xian was practicing boxing, as if his whole body had merged with the world and entered the harmonious realm of unity between man and nature. Watching Yi Xian practicing Tai Chi, the little girl opened her mouth wide. She felt it was pleasing to the eye and full of power at the same time. Oh my God! Dad! For a moment, She couldn't help but exclaimed, then she quickly ran back and called all her sisters. Sister Jingjing. Sister Xiaodan. Sister Xiaxia. Wake up! Wake up! While Yishi was shouting, she pushed several little girls who were sleeping soundly on the bed. It's daybreak? Yi Jing opened her eyes sleepily, looked at Yishi's anxious look, and smiled easily. Xiaoxi, have you forgotten that we are all on vacation? There is no need to be so anxious. Zhou Xiaodan and Yi Xia also woke up and stretched. They thought Xiaoxi was going to school today, so they comforted her together. Yeah, Xiaoxi, you may have fallen asleep, we have been on vacation for a few days. As Yi Xia spoke, he looked at Yishi's anxious expression and smiled comfortingly. That's not what I meant, it's Dad. Dad. When they heard that it was about Yi Xian, the girls finally reacted. Oh yes. Dad is missing. Here. Yishi looked at her sisters excitedly and pointed outside the window. Dad is practicing martial arts outside. Really? Several girls quickly got off the bed, moved to the window, poked their little heads out, and looked carefully. Yishi sat on the floor like a duck and looked out as well. These girls, with their little heads tilted and stacked on top of each other, look so playful and cute as they sneak around. At this time, Yi Xian was still demonstrating every move of Tai Chi under the morning sun. It looked like the roar of a tiger and the roar of a dragon, and he was as fast as a swimming dragon. Dad is so awesome. The girls immediately opened their eyes wide, looking extremely obsessed, with their mouths opened into an O shape. Yi Xian was practicing Tai Chi when he suddenly felt someone was staring at him. He turned his head abruptly. Several girls were startled and quickly shrank their heads back and pulled the curtains. Looking at the still swaying curtains, Yi Xian smiled and shook his head gently. These girls. After a while, several girls got up, washed, changed their clothes, and skipped into the yard. Dad. What were you doing just now? That's amazing. Yi Jing and Yishi threw themselves into Yi Xian's arms and asked with curious little eyes. The powerful Tai Chi that Yi Xian had just performed was still deeply imprinted in the minds of these girls. Just now, Dad was practicing Tai Chi during morning exercises. Dad always likes to practice Tai Chi, it's good for the body. Seeing that the girls were very curious, Yi Xian explained patiently. Dad, we want to learn too. Yishi pulled Yi Xian's sleeve, her eyes full of anticipation. Do you all want to learn? Yi Xian looked at the other girls with a smile. Yi Jing, Yi Xia, and Zhou Xiaodan also nodded heavily. Okay. It's just as well that after you learn this, your balance will improve and you won't fall down as easily. Yi Xian smiled dotingly and gently stroked Yishi's little head. Hearing Yi Xian say that he would not fall again, Yishi could not help but blushing and immediately remembered what happened last night. Xiaoxi, how is your leg? Is there any problem? Yi Xian squatted down and looked at Yishi with concern. Dad, Xiaoxi doesn't feel any pain at all now. Okay. Let's get started. Yeah. When the girls heard that they could learn, they were so excited that they started to imitate Yi Xian's movements, but it looked a little strange. Girls, look at me. Looking at these lively and lovely girls, Yi Xian couldn't help but feel a warm feeling in his heart. Chapter 49. Sorry everyone, I'll take my leave first. Aha! Yi Jing and several other girls consciously stood in a row, neatly arranged in front of Yi Xian, as if they were taking a physical education class, waiting earnestly for the teacher to teach them the movements. First of all, no matter what you do, you must have a good start, and the same goes for Tai Chi. You must do the initial movements well, so that the rest of the learning will be easy. As he spoke, Yi Xian naturally spread his feet parallel to each other, making them shoulder-width apart, with his knees slightly bent, his center of gravity falling between his legs, and adjusting his breathing. Several maids agreed and began to imitate Yi Xian's actions. Yes, that's it. Yi Xian looked at the girls' imitative movements and nodded with a smile. Pay attention, keep your feet shoulder-width apart, bend your knees slightly, and keep your center of gravity between your legs. The girls nodded and began to adjust according to Yi Xian's instructions, but they still felt a little awkward. Yi Xian walked to the side of several maids and patiently adjusted their movements. After a while, the movements of the 4 girls reached the standard. Okay, this is the first step, but it's also the foundation. Dad needs each of you to hold on to this movement for 3 minutes. During this time, you also need to adjust your breathing. If your breathing is smooth, the movement won't be too tiring. Okay. Several girls nodded, but at this time, beads of sweat had already appeared on their heads. It was still a little uncomfortable to do this action. Dad, my legs are so sore. Yishi wiped the sweat off her face, and the beads of sweat on her face became more and more dense. Persistence is victory. Yi Xian took out a handkerchief from his body, wiped the sweat off the faces of several girls, and spoke earnestly. Girls, if you want to learn Tai Chi from me, you have to practice the basics well, just like building a house, you have to do it step by step. Don't worry, Dad. We can hold on. Yi Xia's legs were a little weak at this moment, but she was still very stubborn. Good. That's great. Seeing that the girls were all persevering, Yi Xian couldn't help but give them a thumbs up. Zhou Xiaodan looked at Yi Xian anxiously and asked quietly. Uncle Yi, when can we be as good as you? You looked so handsome when you were boxing just now. The other girls also nodded in agreement, obviously they were all very curious about how Yi Xian boxed just now. Yeah. Can Daddy teach us? We really want to learn. Yi Xian smiled gently, but shook his head. The girls were a little disappointed, but Yi Xian continued. Dad will teach you, but Rome wasn't built in a day. You have to lay a solid foundation now. Just like you can learn English well only if you learn phonetic symbols well, and you can learn Chinese well only if you learn pinyin well. Listening to Yi Xian's serious words, the girls pouted their lips and nodded. Dad, we got it. Well, that's enough for you to know. Come on, let's continue. Yi Xian nodded gently and continued to practice the basic skills of Tai Chi with the girls. At this time, on the other side, Lin Yuhan had already arrived at Tianjin Airport. Many people were still waiting downstairs to pick him up, with respectful looks on their faces. Why haven't you come yet? I don't know, but I heard it's going to land soon. Be patient. Leaving a good impression on Patriarch Lin is more important than anything else. Although most of these people have been waiting for a long time, there is no sign of fatigue on their faces and they are still waiting with full anticipation. Even celebrities may not be able to match the scene. There were many people welcoming him at the airport, and judging from their clothes and temperament, they were all people of some status. These upper-class people who came here to wait for Lin Yuhan on weekdays were not arrogant at all, and their faces were full of respect. Here it comes. At this time, someone shouted, and for a moment, everyone looked not far away, and sure enough, a private passenger plane was taxiing over from the route. This is the Lin family's private jet. It definitely belongs to Patriarch Lin. Patriarch Lin is definitely on top. Let's hurry over there, or we'll run out of time. Before the plane even came to a complete stop, the people who were waiting to pick it up rushed over like moths to a flame, like a huge wave, rushing forward. Ahem. After the plane stopped, the staff pulled down the stairs. Lin Yuhan, dressed in a suit and tie, felt the cold wind blowing in after the cabin door was opened and coughed lightly twice. Master Lin. Seeing Lin Yuhan coming out, everyone became excited and quickly stood in 2 rows at the bottom of the stairs, looking up at Lin Yuhan expectantly. Well. When Lin Yuhan saw this scene, he just sighed slightly and walked over slowly. Master Lin, please take our car and I will treat you to a meal. Master Lin, we are all ready, follow me. Master Lin. For a moment, the men and women around were in a commotion, all hoping to get Lin Yuhan's attention. After all, given Lin Yuhan's status in Tianjin, if you have a good relationship with him, you will be able to get a lot of help no matter what you do in the future, which will be like a fish in water. But now Lin Yuhan was obviously not interested in these things and only felt that the sounds around him were noisy. As soon as he got off the plane and came in front of the crowd, Lin Yuhan stopped and looked at the people around him. I'm sorry, everyone. No matter what the matter is today, I can't accompany you. I have a lot of things to do here. I'll take my leave first. Sorry. After saying that, Lin Yuhan walked forward without even looking back. The people around him were immediately poured a bucket of cold water and stopped making noise. What happened to Patriarch Lin? I don't know, maybe something's wrong? Anyway, from my perspective, we should not disturb Patriarch Lin. Hearing this, the people around nodded secretly. No one dared to come forward. They just watched Lin Yuhan's back disappear in front of everyone. After Lin Yuhan left the airport, he went to the hospital immediately. After entering the gate of this hospital, you will see towering buildings with extremely modern decorations. The roads are clean and there are many high-end luxury cars parked. This is a private hospital, which is quite famous in Tianjin. Most of the dignitaries come here when they are sick. As soon as he entered the hospital, Lin Yuhan rushed to the inpatient department without stopping. The wards here are all single rooms, but rather than single rooms, they are more like suites. While they are spacious and comfortable, the decoration and overall environment are also well considered. Chapter 50 Benefactor. In the most spacious and luxurious ward, there lay an old man who looked very old and on the verge of collapse. The old man doesn't seem to be very energetic. He can still stand up on his own, but it won't be long before he has to rely on a wheelchair. Next to the old man, there were many dignitaries of Tianjin standing at this time. All of them were dressed in suits and looked very dignified, and the table next to them was also filled with flowers and fruits. Mr. Lin, don't worry. I just asked the doctor and he said you are fine. Yes, a person like you must be blessed with good fortune and a long life. These little problems are nothing. Just take a good rest, old man. You will be fine. These dignitaries looked at the old man with respect in their eyes, and their words were sincere, not flattering. After all, if it weren't for this person, who knows how the disaster that year would have ended. Back then, the business community of Tianjin was able to resist the invasion of foreign financial groups thanks to Mr. Lin and a few others. At that time, they all tried their best, otherwise, the business world in Tianjin would be in such a mess now. Others may not be aware of these things, but they know them very well in their hearts. Although the old man Lin in front of him looked like he was already in his twilight years and might pass away at any time, the energy that the old man had unleashed back then was enough to scare anyone. Old Master Lin didn't say anything, he just looked at the leaves fluttering in the wind outside the window, as if he had already seen his own ending. Mr. Lin, if you need anything, just let us know. Yes, if you want to eat or drink something that the hospital doesn't have, we will go out and do everything we can to get it for you. Grandpa, just take good care of yourself and don't worry about anything else. We are here to take care of you. Ahem. Old Master Lin coughed twice softly, interrupting the conversations of these dignitaries. I know what my situation is. There is no need for you to say these words. As Grandpa Lin spoke, there was a sharp gleam in his eyes. He knew his own body very well, and now he really didn't have much time left. Alas! I have already lived for several more years. Even if I die now, I don't feel that I have lost anything. On the contrary, I have extended my life for several more years. Mr. Lin sighed, and the people around him remained silent and listened attentively. It's just that I never saw my benefactor again. If I could have the chance to see my benefactor again, even if I died miserably, I would have no regrets. As he spoke, the old man looked out the window, and his expression became a little complicated. This strong emotion contains relief, helplessness, regret, and an indescribable hope. Lin Yuhan came to the hospital and without wasting any time, he walked into the ward immediately. Master Lin. You are here. When the people around saw Lin Yuhan come in, they greeted him respectfully, and then talked about the old man's condition with a smile. By the way, Master Lin, during the time you were away, the old man's health has improved a lot. That's good. Lin Yuhan looked a little dazed. After responding casually, he hurried to the side of Grandpa Lin Shang. When the old man saw Lin Yuhan coming, his cloudy eyes became a little brighter, and he spoke with some fake anger. Ahem. Look at what's happened to you. Don't panic like that. You look really terrible. Lin Yuhan nodded heavily, looked deeply at the old man in front of him, his old and weathered face, took a deep breath, and continued. Dad. I know where Mr. Yi is. Mr. Yi. When Lin Shang heard this, he instantly became excited, his pupils dilated instantly, and he looked at Lin Yuhan in front of him in disbelief. He stood up excitedly, which scared Lin Yuhan. Are you talking about that Mr. Yi? Lin Yuhan took the old man's hand and helped him sit on the hospital bed before continuing. Yes, that's why I hurried back. A dazzling light suddenly shot out of Lin Shang's eyes, which made Lin Yuhan feel incredible, but he hadn't seen the old man so excited for a long time. Now Mr. Lin Shang's whole body is trembling slightly, and tears are welling up in his eyes. He is pouring out his excitement like a flood that has broken through a dam. Quick! Take me there quickly. We have to hurry. Lin Yuhan looked at the old man's excitement and understood in his heart that over the years, the old man had put a lot of thought into finding Mr. Yi. Yeah. Okay, Dad, let's go now. As he spoke, Lin Shang pulled open the folding wheelchair beside him, slowly helped the old man to sit down, and then covered him with a thin blanket. Everyone watching on the sidelines was confused and surprised. They stared in amazement as Lin Yuhan, who had just entered the ward less than 3 minutes ago, pushed the old man in the wheelchair and walked out of the ward at lightning speed. What's going on? I don't understand. After Patriarch Lin said a few words just now, the old man was so happy. It's really too exaggerated. Oh my god, this is too exaggerated. Where are we going? Looking at the empty hospital bed and the sound of a wheelchair rubbing against the ground coming from the corridor outside, the people present stared at each other in amazement. No one knew what was going on. Soon, Lin Yuhan transferred Grandpa Lin Shang to the car, fastened his seatbelt, and prepared to drive to the airport. Yuhan, Mr. Yi is in Jinling now, right? Even now, the old man couldn't suppress his excitement and couldn't help asking a question. Yes, Dad. I asked clearly this time. All the merchants know about this matter. Well, after all, if it weren't for this trip to Jinling, and I happened to see Mr. Yi's car, I don't know what I would know. Speaking of Yi Xian's affairs in Jinling, Lin Yuhan couldn't help but sigh. Yes. When Lin Shang recalled the past at this time, his eyes were full of emotion, and there was a complex and excited light in his eyes. We have to hurry over. No matter what, we have to see Mr. Yi this time. My life is probably coming to an end soon, and I don't want to have any regrets. Lin Yuhan felt a little uncomfortable looking at the old man like this, but he was also happy for the old man and looked at the driver in front. Let's go, we're going to the airport now. Okay, Master Lin. The driver agreed, stepped on the accelerator, and everyone rushed to the airport at full speed. Chapter 51 Run Away. Girls, it's almost time, let's go back and have breakfast. Good. At this moment, after Yi Xian finished boxing with a few little girls, he led the girls back into the house. The hot breakfast was still on the table, still steaming. After breakfast, the girls made some noise in the house, and suddenly they saw Yi Jing's portrait on the wall again. Dad's paintings are really beautiful. Yi Xi opened her eyes wide and looked at the portrait on the wall, her mouth opened into an O shape. Hey, I have a great idea. Yi Xia's eyes rolled around, and he looked at the other girls slyly, and an idea came to his mind. What good idea? Yi Jing and several other girls looked at her in unison and asked curiously. This is what I thought. Anyway, it's vacation now and we have plenty of time otherwise. Let Dad teach us how to draw. After saying this idea, Yi Xia still had a smug look on his face, and the girls beside him also nodded. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yi Jing clapped his hands and agreed to this idea immediately. Let's go find Dad. Yeah. The girls hit it off immediately and walked back to the living room leisurely. Yi Xian was sitting on the sofa drinking tea at this time. Seeing a few girls looking at him secretly, he patted the sofa beside him and said with a smile. Girls, come here quickly. Ha! Dad actually found out. Yi Xia curled her lips, not being able to understand how she was discovered, and had no choice but to walk to Yi Xian's side with Yi Jing and a few other girls. Yi Xian fell silent, the corners of his mouth twitching slightly. How on earth did these little girls think they wouldn't be discovered? Hey Dad, do you have time? The little guy Yi Xia narrowed his eyes and threw himself into Yi Xian's arms, asking with a smile. Of course I have time. Xia, is there anything I can help you with? Yi Xian ruffled the little girl's hair lovingly and glanced at the other girls. Dad, can you teach us to draw? Yi Xia was about to answer when Yi Xi spoke first. We just saw the portrait that Daddy drew for Sister Yi Jing. Daddy's painting is so beautiful. We want to learn it too. Yi Xia added with a smile, and Yi Xian looked at the expectant eyes of the girls and nodded with a smile. Of course you can, silly girls, you can do whatever you want, just tell Daddy. Yeah. Thanks, Dad. The girls clapped their hands excitedly. They were so happy at that moment. Zhou Xiaodan also held Yi Jing's hand, and the two girls ran into the room and took down the sketchbooks distributed by the school. Yi Xia and Yi Xi also rummaged through their school bags and took out all the drawing tools. Yi Xian watched the maids busying themselves with a warm smile on his face. He also found some tools. After the maids had found what they needed, he took them to the study. Okay, Dad will teach you from the basics. How about we start with sketching? Yi Xian spread out the drawing paper, placed it on the drawing board, and picked up the pencil. Good. Several girls sat on chairs, listening attentively. Their attention was even more focused than during class. Well, first of all, we have to learn how to draw lines, just like Dad. Then, Yi Xian picked up the sketching brush with standard techniques, exerted a little force with his fingers, and left a series of horizontal and vertical lines on the drawing paper. Girls, when you hold a pen, you must hold it like Daddy does. This way you can exert force well and control the lines better. Now you guys just practice it on your own and get a feel for it. Good. Several girls nodded, picked up their own paintbrushes, and carefully followed Yi Xian's movements and practiced with serious expressions. After a while, a piece of sketch paper was filled with lines. And the girls, who were unfamiliar and unskilled at the beginning, began to be able to control the pencils in their hands very well. Yeah, not bad. Really good. Yi Xian was watching the girls from the side and couldn't help but praise them. Hey, thanks, Dad. Thank you, Uncle Yi. The girls were praised and were very excited. Girls, you did a great job. Now we can start learning how to draw the outlines of objects. Very good. When the girls heard that they could officially start learning, they jumped up excitedly, and their eyes were once again focused on the pencil in Yi Xian's hand and the drawing board for demonstration. Time passed by minute, and soon it was noon. The girls were studying very seriously. Seeing that the time was almost up, Yi Xian went to the kitchen to prepare lunch before returning to the study. Okay girls, let's go have lunch and have a good rest after lunch. Good. The girls also felt a little tired at this time. After putting away their paintbrushes, they followed Yi Xian out to eat. After dinner, the girls pestered Yi Xian to tell stories for a while, but soon they felt drowsy and went back to their rooms to take a nap. At about noon, the girls woke up, but they felt waves of heat coming from outside. It's so hot. When they came to the living room, the girls drank some cold water and found some ice cream in the refrigerator, but they still felt very hot. Yi Xian stood in front of the window, feeling the warmth from the sun, and frowned. The situation is better because there is air conditioning in the house, but this is also what Yi Xian is worried about. These girls are still young, and it's not good to keep them using the air conditioner all the time. Thinking of this, Yi Xian had an idea in his mind and walked to the girls with a smile. Girls, isn't it hot? The girls were sweating profusely from the heat and nodded heavily. How about this, Daddy takes you to the summer resort. It's cooler there than here. And we can start swimming comfortably. Really? When they heard about the summer resort and swimming, the girls who were originally feeling listless due to the heat suddenly became energetic. Yes. Yi Xian nodded and smiled at the girls. Okay, go get ready, we'll leave once we're done. Yeah. Dad, let's go now. Several girls' eyes sparkled with excitement, and they swarmed back to their rooms and began to pack up their things. After a while, Yi Xian led a few girls into the car and drove towards the summer resort. Chapter 52 Mr. Yi. On the road, the car that Yi Xian and a few girls were riding in was very conspicuous and quickly attracted the attention of passers-by. Oh my god. This is a Rolls-Royce. It's so cool. Maybe this is the smell of money. Just take a look at it. We can never get a car like this in our lifetime. While everyone was discussing, many bosses also saw the Rolls-Royce on the road. As soon as they saw the license plate number, they recognized it instantly. This is Mr. Yi's car. Yes, it seems that if he takes this road, Mr. Yi is going to the summer resort. In that case, should we go over and say hello? One of the CEOs asked, while the others shook their heads. Forget it, Mr. Yi doesn't like to be disturbed. And you forgot, we have more important things to do now. Another CEO said seriously, looking in the direction of the airport. We still have to go to the airport to pick up the head of the Tianjing Lin family and the old man of the Lin family. I don't need to explain their identities. With this status, I'm afraid he's even more powerful than Mr. Yi. When the other CEOs heard this, they thought it was true and nodded. Without further delay, after this little episode, the bosses hurried to the airport again. After arriving at the airport, a group of bosses waited respectfully, and soon they saw Lin Yuhan supporting Lin Shang walking over. Master Lin. Mr. Lin. You are here. A group of CEOs hurriedly came forward and greeted him respectfully. When Lin Shang saw these people, he coughed softly and winked at Lin Yuhan beside him. Lin Yuhan understood instantly, waved to the bosses and spoke seriously. Do you know where Mr. Yi is now? As soon as these words came out, the bosses who came to greet him were stunned. The head of the Lin family and the old man actually addressed Yi Xian as Mr. Yi. What's even more incredible is that as soon as they got off the plane, they asked about Mr. Yi's whereabouts. Did they come here specifically to find Mr. Yi? In an instant, these bosses felt a chill down their spines. What they saw was no longer just speculation. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that this time, the head of the Lin family and the old man of the Lin family came just for Mr. Yi. But who are they? They have to condescend to see Mr. Yi so much that they even address Mr. Yi the same way as they do. This is a top family from Tianjing, and the head of the family is the highly respected Mr. Lin. Everyone felt that their brains were dizzy at the moment, as if they were about to crash, and they were somewhat unable to process the amount of information they received. Mr. Yi might have gone to the summer resort in Jinling. Lin Shang and Lin Yuhan nodded, as if they were relieved. The old man stared at the CEOs in front of him with eyes that were a little cloudy, but more of which were shining with the brilliance of a superior, and said with a smile, "It seems that I need to trouble you all for a while. Can you take us to find Mr. Yi?" The bosses were stunned for a moment, then nodded. "It's no trouble, no trouble. It's our honor to be able to do something for the old man." Then, without further delay, everyone hurried towards the summer resort. At this time, Yi Xian, along with a few maids, had just arrived at the gate of the summer resort. After getting off the car, the girls felt a comfortable and refreshing mountain breeze blowing, which immediately blew away the heat of the entire summer. This summer resort is surrounded by mountains, with the sound of flowing water all around and green vegetation everywhere. Even the air here is much fresher than other places. On both sides of the villa's gate, clear river water is flowing, with green leaves and petals floating on it, which looks extremely comfortable. The gate of the villa is also luxuriously decorated, giving a feeling of a castle hidden deep in the green. The girls felt the coolness and were amazed at the scenery in front of them. Wow! It's so beautiful here. Hee, and it's really cool and comfortable. It's so cool, I don't want to leave now that I'm here. The girls looked around and became more and more satisfied with the place. They pulled Yi Xian and rushed inside. Coincidentally, at this time, a CEO from Tianjing was also entering the summer resort with his family. Wow! This place is really authentic. It's a comfortable place. The boss was wearing suit pants and a white shirt, his leather shoes were polished to a shine, and he looked very arrogant. From his accent, you can tell that he is the boss from Tianjing. This guy walked towards the service lobby at the entrance of the villa with an arrogant look in his eyes that looked down on the world. It was as if he had left Tianjing, a place full of bigwigs, and after coming here, the boss had no scruples at all and displayed his arrogant and domineering attitude to the fullest. Even the family members following him had a swaggering look on their faces, which made people feel a little uncomfortable. After entering the lobby, a beautiful lobby manager saw the situation and immediately came over respectfully, looked at the Tianjing boss in front of her, and bowed enthusiastically. "Hello, sir, what can I do for you?" That day, Mr. Jing looked at the manager in front of him, straightening his collar, and asked slowly, "Do you have any small villas here?" The beautiful lobby manager smiled apologetically and shook her head slightly. "I'm sorry, sir, our little villa is fully booked. I'm really sorry, after all, the weather has been too hot recently, and more people are coming here. There's nothing we can do about it." The boss's face suddenly darkened, and he looked at the manager who kept apologizing and continued. "Is it really gone? I came all the way from Tianjing. I know your place is famous, so I came all the way here. You tell me it's gone. How about this? I can offer a high price, money is not a problem, I just want a small villa, is that a problem?" The beautiful lobby manager saw that the boss looked a little unhappy, but she was also helpless. "I'm so sorry, sir, there's nothing we can do. We really don't have any more now." The boss of Tianjing suddenly turned pale and waved his sleeves. Although he was not happy about it, there was nothing he could do. But just when he was about to leave with his family, Yi Xian and others walked in. As soon as the beautiful lobby manager saw Yi Xian coming, she immediately came up to him respectfully and bowed deeply. Chapter 53. Sir, please watch your words. "Mr. Yi, you are here. Welcome, welcome." Yi Xian nodded, glanced at the Tianjing boss standing beside him, and asked the manager, "How is it? Is it still available now?" The beautiful lobby manager nodded sharply and said with a smile, "Don't worry, Mr. Yi, there are still some." I'll take you in. Good. Yi Xian nodded, took a few little girls, and followed the beautiful lobby manager inside. Mr. Yi, our chairman has specially designed a luxurious top-level villa for entertaining distinguished guests. I will take you there now. Yi Xian nodded slightly, looked at the girls beside him, and said with a smile. Girls, let's go, we're almost there. The boss just stood there, staring blankly at the backs of Yi Xian and others as they left. At this moment, the boss and his family were stunned. This was the first time they had seen such a situation. In an instant, the boss became unhappy, his face turned red, the corners of his mouth twitched, and he shouted immediately. What do you mean? Call out your general manager. This roar made the beautiful lobby manager and Yi Xian and others stop in their tracks. Looking back, they saw that the boss had already started to make a fuss. What's so great about your villa? I've never seen you do business like this. What? Are you looking down on me, a guest from Tianjing? At this moment, the boss from Tianjing was completely furious. No matter what the people around him were doing, they were attracted by his roar and had no idea what was going on. When the beautiful lobby manager saw the scene, she shook her head helplessly. There was nothing she could do. I was indeed a little too hasty just now and did not explain clearly. I told him that there was no villa. Then Mr. Yi came over and